Hello guys, welcome to the fiction series. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto x Blackfire x Raven x Starfire? Part 2. If you want more awesome fanfiction like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So without wasting any time, let's get into the video. Naruto Uzumaki stood in the mayor's office with a serious, but jaded expression. The office is in the shape of a large rectangle with small oval windows on one wall. It has gray concrete walls, with the lower half of the walls being covered by beautiful varnished wood, with the concrete part having built-in shelves that contain books, scrolls, papers, and two computer screens closer to the window. The floor has black, warm carpets. A large crescent moon-shaped wooden desk sits to the back of the room, and has little paperwork on it, and two advanced-looking computers. Large red curtains are placed on both sides of the large window. There is also a very large settee that seemed very comfy behind the desk. Another, smaller couch was in front of the table. Situated in the seat was the mayor, Jiraiya, who was looking through mission reports that Naruto had handed to him. The Toad Sage was reading the documents with gusto, looking through each and every bit of detail that the blonde godson had written down since becoming a Titan. Jiraiya had asked the blonde to keep him informed of the happenings of the Titans in the tower, and in their everyday lives. Naruto at first didn't want to be a spy for his godfather, he didn't want to be spying on his only friends in this world, and had debated with the white-haired mayor. Before the Sannin brought up that the team that, while it's the only defense the city had against crime of the super nature, it was also disordered and varied. But also the lone chakra user Raven was someone that Jiraiya had told the war hero to keep an eye on. The perverted sage could even tell her chakra was demonic and unusual. While spying on his friends, gaining their trust, and fighting alongside them to protect the city, Naruto had gone out on secret missions that only he and the perverted sage knew about. Naruto's first mission was to keep an eye on the team, Raven being the primary person to keep his eyes on. The second assignment was finding out the origins of two mysterious symbols. One of those symbols had been seen during their travels around their homeworld of Gaia. The second symbol was something unique altogether. However, it later tied in with the third task the blonde has. The third mission in this case was hunting down a cult that was following an entity called Trigon. That name brought forth a fury from Kurama that would scare away deities. It also caused Naruto to growl with hatred. Jiraiya instantly knew something was wrong and asked him. It was then that the blonde told the story of the origins of chakra, from what the sage of the Six Paths told him during the war. To say the super pervert was floored was an understatement. While he took in the information like a sponge and pieced everything that was explained to him, he still couldn't believe it. This one creature set off everything on Gaia in a sense. Trigon put the wheel of darkness and war in motion by controlling Kagaya, causing her to go rampant, attack her sons, and create Black Zetsu. Her creation would have a conflict ion between her and Trigon's wills, and unfortunately, Trigon's will overpowered Kagaya's, which lead to everything that happened since that turmoil, due to Black Zetsu following Trigon. But a slither of Kagaya's will remained, which later succeeded in bringing the rabbit goddess back, only to be sealed again by Naruto and Sasuke. Although Naruto and Kurama could only speculate on parts of that theory and story, since they don't have the answers, but the evidence they got backed up the latter segment of the story. On a side note, the two had been comparing notes about how they got here. Naruto was sucked in through a black portal with a white outline, something that he noticed Raven use on occasion. Jiraiya recalled his moments during his fall. Even though he was drowning, feeling faint due to blood loss, and on his deathbed due to both and the aftermath of his battle with pain, he remembered seeing a similar portal open up underneath him. The next thing he remembered was him waking up in hospital. The two talked about that for some time, before leaving it until they could get more information. The mayor eventually finished reading through the reports and notes that Naruto had gathered, and placed them on the table, before leaning forward and interlacing his hands together in front of his face. He sighed loudly and looked at his godson. "So, we have a problem?" Naruto nods in response, as he folds his arms, and elaborates for him in a tired tone. "That's putting it lightly. This cult is worshipping Trigon, and is trying to resurrect him. I also haven't been able to find out how they're going to do this. This symbol is known as the Mark of Scath. Do you know what this symbol means?" inquired the white-haired male with a quizzical frown and raised eyebrow. He didn't know any of this himself, and his agents wasn't able to get close to these cult bases. Naruto was the only one, and after he got information, he destroyed the place. Naruto shook his head to his question, and sighed sadly. No, I haven't found anything else regarding this symbol yet. Either the information is only limited to certain bases, personal, or it's somewhere else entirely. It was incredibly frustrating, and his tone and facial expressions solidified this. Jiraiya could also hear it in his voice, and was also unsettled by this. And the other symbol? He asked, his eyes landing on Naruto's blue ones. He saw them shine more to that question. No doubt he had more luck with this symbol. I have found this symbol, or a slight variation of this, in only one location on this planet. I've found this symbol reference to a lost continent, one called Mu. He explained with a smile. The blonde was proud of his results regarding this symbol. He had put many hours into looking through many books, many scrolls, and looking through private sections of the most secretive knowledge archives. Jiraiya looked at him with his mouth agape, yet his features held an agog expression. It was surprising to hear. He initially wasn't expecting much information regarding that, so he asked the obvious question. How? Naruto rubbed the back of his head at the question. He was expecting this. Since the start of the mission, Jiraiya wasn't expecting too much information about either symbols. That wasn't the case for this symbol that held a strange connection between Earth and Gaia. After we spotted this symbol on our world, and after the war had ended, I went back to those places to study the symbol, the clans that were around the shrines, temples, obelisks, or whatever we found them on. They provided me with stories, tales, myths, and the legend of the buildings and people that inhabited them. They talk about a clan from the heavens, who settled on our moon and planet many years ago after something happened on their homeworld to force them to leave. We believe this is the Osatsuki clan, as their story is similar, but incomplete from what we're directly told by Hagoromo. This symbol is the clan crest of the Osatsuki clan, and there are numerous tales of entire lands vanishing overnight due to a flood or another tragic event. But these are going back many, many thousands of years. The people that talk about it have seen a symbol that looks similar to this, but most of those are years old as well. I had to get Raven to lend me some of her books to find some of this out, as it's not information that one can get so easily. The white-haired older male was amazed at the information. This could rewrite the history of Gaia and the origins of chakra. Still, some questions remained. Where were these lost lands? Are they even still here? Are there any Osatsuki left? Naruto shrugged his shoulders with a blank face. He didn't know about that. He couldn't answer those questions without more information. Naruto then remembered something about the missions to take out Trigon's followers. A critical piece of information too. Jiraiya scrutinized the blonde for a moment, before shaking his head. He might as well had a sweat drop run comically down his head at Naruto's forgetfulness, before he asked him what was so important about this. During my time at the latest temple, I encountered a login book. Nothing remarkable about it, until I get to one name. Someone called Night Fox. Jiraiya felt his heart give out for a second. His eyes widened and he became pale. It couldn't be. Night Fox was a name he never wanted to hear again. But this changed things. Night Fox was seemingly walking in and out of that former base of Trigon, like he was working with, or for, the entity. The Night Fox. That made Jiraiya stop thinking for some time. The Night Fox. That's impossible. Naruto noticed the distress and pale nature of his godfather, and was instantly worried and curious. In all his years of knowing him, Jiraiya never went like this over the thought of battling anyone, or jumping into unknown situations. This, however, was something different. It was as if Jiraiya had been caught peeping by every single kunoichi in existence. The name Night Fox must mean something to the Toad Sannin, something that horrified him. Jiraiya stood up, and rested his hands on the desk, and seemed to stare deeply into the soul of his godson. His eyes and demeanor were serious. The man behind the pervert was in place. Naruto, listen to me. If you ever encounter Night Fox, do not fight him. Naruto looked at his godfather with raised brows, quite alarmed at the command by the man. Before Naruto could ask the older man what he meant, a massive burst of chakra alerted them and stopped the entire conversation. What was that? Was that Raven? Jiraiya asked as he looked in the general direction where the explosion of chakra originated from. That was Raven all right, but that was as high as my tail beast mode. That's more demonic than before. That felt like his. Kurama roared loudly as she picked up on the burst of demonic chakra. She recognized that feeling anywhere. Not from experience, but from genetic memory during the early years when she was a single entity within the Shinju. It was that monster's chakra. But why did it feel diluted, not as strong or potent as it did back then? Naruto didn't even respond to his best friend, as he nodded to Jiraiya, knowing that the older gentleman would get the message. He got a nod in return, and let the blonde know that they'd continue their talk later. The war hero vanished in a flash of gold. The legendary Flying Thunder God technique. Jump City Streets, Saturday. Standing in the middle of the street was a trembling Dr. Light. He is an older male with tan skin, dull blue eyes, and a black wild goatee. He is wearing a tight black helmet that is attached to a skin-tight black outfit. The clothing has a light bulb on the chest. He also has metal segments on various parts of the outfit, and yellow gems on his belt and gauntlets. At first this was turning out to be a successful venture for him this night, attacking an armored car to steal the gold bullion inside it. The amount he would have taken would have set him for life. He wasn't stupid enough to attack Fort Knox and steal the godly amount of gold bullion stationed there, so the gold here would be the most plausible and most enticing target. So when the Titans, minus Naruto, arrived to thwart his plans, he defended his stolen goods from all of them with his skills, taunting the team for their failures and faults. He had taken his powers up a notch beforehand, since he knew the Titans were getting stronger than most originally thought. His light-based energy attacks, force fields, photokinesis, invisibility, flight, and other powers were good at disabling the Titans after a skirmish that trashed a few buildings, lampposts, cars, and street around them. Their fracas had gone down the street from where the fight originally started. He sent Robin over the roof of a nearby building, followed by putting Beast Boy in a dazed state, so much so that the shapeshifter can't even move from the floor. After dealing with the green machine, he halts Starfire's attempts at stopping him by trapping her in a force field of solid light that boxed her in. Dr. Light had taken care of Cyborg by hitting him with a concentrated beam of intense energy, and embedding him in stone, with only his head free. Still, he had to give praise where it was due. They worked well together, and were extremely deadly when battling. He would never voice it, as it was counterintuitive. Still, he knew that he would need a serious amount of sleep and rest after all this, while being coated with bags of ice to help ease the pains. Right now, though, his plan was in tatters. While he had dealt with most of the team and incapacitated them, there was one he forgot: Raven. He tried to deal with her swiftly, by stopping her during her incantations with his light-based attacks. He was observant though, noticing a raven's head in her brooch. Raven fought back, but he destroyed the objects she had sent his way using her telekinesis, before blasting her again. Only this time, when she got up, her demeanor had changed. It had become menacing and cruel. He cracked a joke regarding a fear of the light, only to get what would scare the soul from his body for years. She had growled demonically. Her eyes were now glowing red, and she grew in height. 3 or 4 times taller than he was. She stalked up to him with a sadistic smirk. She had black tendrils appear under her cloak, and sort of acted like legs for her, as she glided across the ground to him. Right now he was cowering in absolute fear, as several of those black tentacles shoot out from beneath her towards him. He tries backing up from the homing tendrils, screaming in terror. He is then seized by the dark tentacles, which seem to infect him with more horror, as his suit is damaged, which is made evident by the sparks flying from his advanced battle suit. "My suit! What are you? No, stop, you win, I surrender!" He screams out, in the hopes of placating the demonic female before him. He was powerless. His light was no match for the darkness before him. It was too late for him. He is dragged toward the billowing blue hem with a rough yank, while Raven smiles cruelly down at him. She hears his screams, but in her current frame of mind, it was like music to her ears. Hearing him scream "No, I surrender," didn't even compute to her. She wasn't batting an eyelash. Soon he was brought into the dark veil of her cloak, ready to be tortured for his crimes. She then speaks, but another voice seems to be overlapping hers, as if a dark entity is saying the words along with her. "What's the matter? Afraid of the dark?" she says with a sadistic undertone. Robin, spotting the event, runs over to stop her from going too far. "Raven! Stop!" he shouted loudly, gaining her attention. Raven's attention is also caught by the flash of gold before her, and upon the flash of gold disappearing, Naruto stood in its place, a few meters from her. He looked calm, with the faintest form of curiosity, if his tense posture is anything to go by. "Raven!" He starts with a strong voice, as he walks to her. Calm down, you're better than this. He adds as he floats up to her height, and looks deeply into her eerily glowing blood-red eyes. He then places a hand on her ash-colored cheek. Raven's eyes return to normal in the blink of an eye. She gasps sharply and shrinks back to normal size, with Naruto following her back down, and keeping his gaze at her, and his palm resting on her cheek. Upon returning to normal size, her cloak recedes to reveal the beaten enemy, curled up in a fetal position on the pavement, and shivering in wide-eyed fear. Raven took sharp intakes of air as she stared at the blonde male before her, before shutting her eyes in regret, and saying something in her monotone voice, which has regret laced into it. I am sorry I lost control. The Caped Crusader says as she looks down, ashamed of her actions. She glances at Dr. Light, who is being comforted by Robin, and the now freed Starfire. Cyborg makes his way to them after getting freed from the possessive pavement by Beast Boy, while being followed by said ally. The former two felt sorry for the villain, and were trying to calm him down after his frightful experience. Beast Boy and Cyborg approached the duo, with Beast Boy focusing on Raven intently. Naruto knew what would happen next, and it wouldn't be brilliant. Dude! Raven, what did you do? The changeling asked. The cloaked female twitched and tensed, before quickly turning to face him. Her eyes have again gone red once more, and she is snarling demonically. The animal shapeshifter jumps back in fright, jumping behind Cyborg with a scream. She quickly composes herself again, before lurks and stalks away into a nearby alleyway, before becoming one with the shadow and darkness of the environment. Upon sensing where she went, Naruto casts his eyes to the distressed BB, before teleporting after the emotionally unstable Raven. What's her deal? Stuttered out the indignant and confused Beast Boy, who got a shrug from Robin, and a head scratch from Cyborg, whom was puzzled at what just happened. Jump City, Titan's Tower, Naruto's bedroom, Sunday. A few hours had passed since all that went down. Naruto had teleported to Raven's room to confront her, and calm her down. She told him what was going on within her mindscape, and how something escaped. The war hero meditated with her, got her some food and tea to settle her. He goes on to explain that they may have to alter their training, since it may be soon when she learns to tame her darkness, much like he had done years before. He could tell that she wasn't too happy about doing that, but Naruto didn't let her back out of it. This needed to be done, otherwise stuff like this will happen, and it may be even worse later on. She did have to admit, it did make her a tad jealous regarding how he could easily go about using his chakra, without the need to remain emotionally stable. He glanced her sadly, before explaining that it wasn't always the case, which he himself had to tame his darkness, and even battle his tailed beast to bring peace to his being. That's how he was able to use the chakra cloak she witnessed during his battle against Blackfire a week ago. After sorting out Raven, and after the others had returned home, he made quick plans with Robin, since the brightly colored wearing teen insisted with talking to him regarding the event with Blackfire. Right now, though, the content blonde was drifting off into the world of sleep after writing another note in his diary. He had two clones look at the tablets he copied from Atlantis, to see if they go into anything about Mu, the proposed origin of the Osatsuki clan. Upon falling asleep, though, something strange happened. Kurama felt something strange happen and tried to wake her vessel wake up, but got no response from him, almost like he was dead. Unknown location, Sunday. Naruto wasn't dead, but had entered a very, very deep sleep. His soul and mind had been called by an unknown force, and it had been tugging on him for some time. Only now, though, did Naruto stop resisting, to see what on earth was pulling on him. He woke up, seemingly floating in what appeared to be space. It was completely black. But before him was a sphere of what appeared to be webs in a perfect sphere. The webs were not completely connected across this sphere, and did have breaks in places. If Naruto had to guess, it looked like a mini-universe with the cosmic web and voids, but he was observing it from outside of the sphere of the universe. He could make out galaxies on the webs closest to him, but even then, they looked blurred due to how much matter was there. Upon moving his head in different directions, he noticed other spheres at differing distances and stages of evolution. Some looked more chaotic, some looked emptier, and some looked like a mixture of the two, like the large one before him. Beautiful, isn't it? The multiverse. Echoed a male voice, an almost godly male voice. It was extremely powerful, wise, and experienced. It almost made Naruto want to bow to the owner of the voice. Upon turning his body to face the person who spoke, his back was towards the large universe he saw when he appeared here moments ago. Who he saw was shocking and confusing. Floating before him was himself? This entity looked like him, but had notable differences. He was a handsome 22-year-old with pale skin. He had heterochromia eyes. His left eye is a misty, ice blue with the pupil being a mix of toad and feline with a ring around it. The right eye is ruby red, with its pupil being shaped like the one in his left eye. He has sharp black markings on his eyelids and around his eyes, which stretch to his hairline. He also has black bars on his cheeks that mimic whiskers. He has messy, spiky, shoulder-length scarlet red hair with shoulder-length bangs framing either side of his face, with some bangs covering his eyes slightly, and 2 spikes of hair going up higher than the rest to mimic horns. He wears smart, black suit with white insides, black gloves and boots. The suit has glowing ice blue magatama markings along the bottom of the trousers, the cuffs and bottom of his suit jacket. He also has the Uzumaki clan crest on top of 9 magatama markings in rows of 3 across his back. Hovering over his back is 14 truth-seeking balls that look like black spheres. He strangely has a brown monkey tail coming from his tailbone. The figure smiled at Naruto with pride and awe. He also seemed joyous and enthusiastic. The reason escaped the short-haired blonde, as he looked at his other self, the one he presumed brought him here, wherever here was. Wait, did the entity before him say multiverse? If so, then was Naruto in the void between the many universes? And was the one behind him the universe he belonged to? To answer your many questions, yes, this is the space between the many realities, and yes, the universe behind you is the one you're from. Quite interesting to say the least. Then again, some of the alternate timelines I've looked into have been exhilarating and wonderful to examine, with some being disappointing and obnoxious. Naruto looked at the person who brought him here with a deadpan expression, as the wild-haired version of him was going on about how some timelines were lacking in terms of creativity and ideas. Before he then started talking about why he did this, and introducing himself. The entity smacked his head with a sigh, unamused that he forgot the introduction. Forgetful wazak that I am. I'm another Naruto, in case you didn't notice. He ignored the annoyed look he was getting from the Naruto he called here. Although I also go by Nightmare, or Naruto Uzumaki. Anyway, I can't believe it worked. I'm able to finally see past my universe, and look into others. It took many, many years to do so, but it's worth it. Yeah, you're the 7th one I've looked at, and but the 3rd one I've talked to. A Titan, huh? Working alongside aliens, demons, and normal humans, with some being more unique. The now named Nightmare was being gazed at by Naruto, who was surprised, but curious. This Naruto Uzumaki had used his powers to look through the multiverse, and if that was the case, this entity was extremely powerful. He was wearing a classy suit though, wasn't he bothered about getting into confrontations? That would ruin the outfit, surely? He was either really confident, or his outfit couldn't get damaged or marked by conflict. Then again, with what Naruto was sensing from the Uzumaki version of him, the entity far outclassed him in terms of energy. While he had humongous chakra reserves, having chakra levels that matched the whole QB, Naruto Uzumaki, the one who brought him here, was far beyond anything he had ever experienced. It was like comparing the radii of planets Mercury and Jupiter, with himself representing Mercury. It was unnerving and worrying to the blonde. But before he could think more on the matter, and ask the Uzumaki some questions, the scarlet-haired Naruto spoke firmly. I'm afraid I'll have to cut our time short today. I'll set up a session soon, where you'll meet 2 other takes on you. Both of them have intrigued me greatly, as you have. I'll be sending you back now. The Naruto that was brought here didn't even get to reply, before he faded away from sight, leaving the Uzumaki to float alone. He held a smile filled with mirth, before he soon vanished. Jump City, Titan's Tower Living/Main Ops Room, Sunday. The night had passed, some had a brilliant night's worth of sleep, and others didn't. Right now, though, they were trying to put everything that happened last night behind them, and clearly Beast Boy was amongst that party. The Green Machine was cooking breakfast for the gang, with all in attending, although they were missing Raven. Rise and shine, amigos. He commented with a toothy grin, donning a chef's hat for his moment at cooking. He had done a good job, if he said so himself. Now all that remained was the praise from his friends. He just hoped that Raven had calmed down from her outburst yesterday. He picks up plates and walks away from the kitchen counter. Not far from the kitchen were Cyborg, Naruto, Starfire, and Robin, all of which were situated around two newly constructed tables, with a comfy long settee built into the side. Cyborg and Starfire seem very eager for some breakfast, with Robin taking a glance at Naruto with 100 questions running through his head, and Naruto himself in a deep state of pondering. What he was pondering about was unknown to the domino mask wearer. "Breakfast is served," came the proud voice of the cook for the time being, as he placed varying meals in front of the group, before going back and getting the rest. "Thanks, Beast Boy. Everything looks great," praised Robin, as his plate was set down before him, taking note of the lack of tofu on the plate, and noticing the mix of meats and vegetables in the dish. Once again, though, the red-haired alien of the group looked upon the gorgeous food, and took what she knew about traditions of her own world. "From my experience, a feast like this would mark the arrangement of a marriage. That's on my planet, though." She picked a piece of meat up with her fork, and looked at the shapeshifter with an amused and teasing smirk. "So tell me, who are you engaged to?" Beast Boy sputtered in shock, before his brain reboots from the early curveball. He shouts in surprise and jumps back. He was nowhere near ready to deal with a question like that in the early hours of the morning. He caught his hat, which was trying to escape his head, and make flight to the other side of the room. Cyborg, meanwhile, was wolfing down his plate full of food at near light speeds. When he finishes, he releases an obnoxious belch, as his facial expression changes from a content, blissful one, to a very confused one. He looks at BB, not seeing the flat glare from Naruto, whom was eating his meal at a much slower pace, but still fast in comparison to the others. "It's quite good, I must say," the blonde hero commented to his ally with a sincere smile, but also a slightly dumbfounded one. "He's been practicing, cheeky little." Starfire notices the look on the cybernetic teen's face, and voices her query. "Is something the matter, friend? I'm surprised that wasn't that tofu stuff. Who are you, and what have you done with Beast Boy?" he shouts with mock suspicion at his good friend, while in truth he was very curious and confused. The other times BB had cooked, he tried to get them to eat tofu and other more vegetarian equivalents of their normal foods. Yet now he was happily giving them their normal meals, with some vegetarian components on the side, making a balanced meal. Beast Boy gives him a mock frown, before smiling and basking in their praises of his cooking skills. "I'm still me, dudes. I've just been getting lessons from our good bro Naruto here," he admitted before giving a nod to his now exposed teacher, who nodded back in appreciation. At the same time, a calm Raven walks into the room and makes her way to the kitchen counter where a plate of food and a cup of tea await her. Just as she was about to pick them up and return to her room, Cyborg asked a question that was directed to the blonde. "You taught BB how to cook, and give us the foods we want. I'm guessing you must be a good cook yourself. How did you get so good?" If there was one thing the team all noticed, it was the sudden change in the atmosphere of the room. It became sad, lonely, and tense. Naruto's facial features and demeanor had changed from the bubbly, happy blonde they're used to a crestfallen one with a look of remembrance. A look that didn't have many good memories. Naruto sighs, realizing he can't escape this question. He was tired of avoiding the questions of the team. They were persistent, he gave them that. Now he was going to tell them what they wanted. If they asked, he sighed again, before answering the cybernetically enhanced teen. "I have waited, I have learned, and I have listened. Now I guess it's my turn to talk, and your turn to listen. I trust you with bits and bobs of my past, so here it is. The answer to your question ties in with why I eat quickly, and why I subtly check food for poisons. I grew up on the streets, you see. My parents died when I was born, and I was seen as a curse by the village I was born into. I was kicked out of the orphanage at 4 years of age, and I lived out on the streets for years. So I was forced to learn important life skills at a young age, and it didn't help with how the villagers were treating me." Starfire looked sadly at her oldest friend and love interest with dejection and gloom, as she knew all of this beforehand during their meetings back then. Cyborg looked at his blonde-haired friend with a loose jaw. His eyes were wide with shock. He hadn't expected that to be the answer to his question. Beast Boy looked at the floor with a depressed frown. To hear that his friend had been raised on the streets was alarming and sickening, a thought that was running through the mind of Robin, whom was looking at the blonde team member with. Raven had stopped still, looked straight ahead as she seemed to reminisce about her own past. While she appeared to hold emotionless features, inside those she was a whirlwind of sadness and loathing. The antipathy wasn't directed at any one of the team, but how the people of Naruto's village could hurt a kind, caring person like himself. People were idiots in her opinion. Not able to see beyond what their eyes can see, or just being blind or ignorant to what is provided to them. They treat you like a plague because of the demon inside you? Or because they viewed you as the very demon? Robin questioned as he narrowed his eyes at the blonde he was questioning. He was appalled by the people of Naruto's world, but by how the blonde casually talked about it, it seemed to be a common occurrence. At least for some time, whether or not it's still going on is unknown. Naruto nodded in confirmation to the latter, and confirmed that Robin's latter question was correct. Call me cynical, but people are odd, they make mistakes, and at first, I believed that demons were nicer than most people. I still partly believe that people are narcissistic, vain, egotistical, and imbecilic. But there is light and good in them. They can be kind, generous, loving, and amazing. Despite all their faults. I wouldn't trade them for anything, he explained with a serious passion. He held a faraway look on his face with a truthful smile on his face. Raven took a seat across from Naruto, and started eating her meal, as she glanced at the blonde, looking at the white circle on the blonde's right palm. Naruto smiled at her, and greeted her. Everyone else greeted her afterwards, before the ash-skinned female decided to find out what the white circle meant. Beast Boy made a comment that might as well split the heavens in two. You could use a little food after the way you cooked Dr. Light. The green team commented honestly. While honesty is the best policy, it wasn't in this case. A dark and tense feeling rushed through the room, as Naruto sighed irritably, preparing for the worst. Raven's eyes quickly turned to the same demonic red they turned last night, and once again, they were directed to Beast Boy. She glared deep into the green machine's soul, and shrieked in anger. BB gasps in fear, and steps back, as she exerts her uncontrolled powers on the plate he holds. The food explodes like a supernova, leaving him covered with his own cuisine. He then drops the plate in annoyance. Raven gets up, and walks away and leaves through the side door, heading to the roof to relax. The door closes behind her. Maybe you should go apologize, Robin suggested, as he stood up and made his way next to the changeling, who in turn looked the boy wonder like he grew two heads. Me? Me? I'm not the one who just turned breakfast into a battlefield, he exclaimed, shocked that his friend would even ask him to do that, when it wasn't his fault. Right. Cyborg joins them carrying the dishes of the gang, while heading to the kitchen area to clean them. Along the way, he adds his own comment to the equation with a lecturing tone. Yeah, but after the weirdness that went down last night, you should know better than to go messing with her. Naruto blocked out the rest of the conversation with a frown, as he stood up and made his way out of the room, not noticing the eyes of Starfire looking at him in worry. Raven's rage is starting to affect us, Naru. Her chakra is familiar to someone, but I can't put my finger on whose it reminds me of. Naruto mentally nodded to his inner demon, clearly feeling the negative energy that Raven's putting was starting to destabilize his own equilibrium. He needed to deal with Raven much quicker than he originally thought. He didn't answer the second half, since he didn't have an answer to give. He had a lot of work to do, so his mental machinery was cranking and going into full gear to find a solution. Jump City, Titan's Tower hallway, Sunday. Beast Boy was stood in a hallway, standing before a closed door, and gingerly knocks on the door. He had been debating about this for a short amount of time, but he quickly wanted to make amends and sort things out. Are you in there, Raven? He questioned to the imposing door before him. He waited for a few moments, before shrugging, and turning to walk away. Oh, well, nobody's home. He proceeds to walk away, only to slam into a new wall. He rubs his nose, trying to ease the pain. Upon looking up, he saw that the wall he walked into was cyborg. You might want to knock a little louder, he recommended with a blank stare, before patting the smaller Titan's shoulder. He then knocks on the door. Harder. He didn't notice the shiver of fear from Beast Boy, because he was trying to help his friend sort this out. His hard knock knocks the door clean off its hinges, and into the room beyond. The door struck the ground with a crash that seemed to echo slightly in the room it fell in. Both faces go slack, and their eyes widen. Although Cyborg has a sudden cold sweat running down his temple. Beast Boy looks on with a sheepish look. Now we both have to apologize, he muttered in slightly fear, as he made his way into the dark veil of the threshold, and entering the bedroom that belonged to Raven. Jump City, Titan's Tower. Raven's bedroom, Sunday. Raven's room truly represents her tastes in clothing. The room is about as dark and mystical as they come. Closest to the door are triangular shelves filled with books, old and new. A four-eyed tragedy and comedy masks are on a pedestal. An oddly shaped mirror is situated on the wall in front of a Gothic table. Chalices and braziers are placed on shelves dotted about the room. There are also a few ancient chests, and lamps hanging from the ceiling. A queen-sized bed is partly recessed into the far wall with a frame over it like that of Raven's hood. A large globe is hogging up the near corner. There is a path that leads from the door to the bed. The entire place is done in shades of gray and black, with the odd coating of blue. Raven? Sorry about the door. Raven? Came the hushed shout of Cyborg, as he cautiously looked around, to see if Raven was indeed in her room. Only to find she wasn't in there. Dude, she's not here. Come on, said Beast Boy, as he strides inside, and gestured to Cyborg to follow him. The cybernetic teen, after much hesitation, followed his friend inside on his tiptoes. Looks like Halloween came early this year, commented BB as he looked around the formerly unknown room, before he made his way to the dresser next to the wall below the oddly shaped mirror. We're in Raven's room. We should not be in Raven's room. She doesn't let anybody in here ever. Cy whispered to his friend with a scolding tone, while he also was taking in the sights of Raven's bedroom. So? This is our big chance to find out more about her, he responds, as he picks up a strangely designed handheld mirror. For instance, check out this beauty mirror. Who would have thought Raven spends time sprucing? Is that it? He says with a small laugh, before looking at his reflection in shock upon seeing a spot on his cheek. That shock quickly escalated to fear as two pairs of glowing red eyes, one above the other, superimpose themselves on his image. They clear after a moment, leaving him to gasp in shock, before he drops the mirror and jumps back with a cry of fear. A red-rimmed swath of black and red energy screams from the mirror straight up into the air. It then changes its shape into that of an arm and hand, and grabs him. He is shaken back and forth rapidly, nearly making him sick. Cyborg pays no mind, having reached the doorway and made ready to leave. Come on, BB, we should really get out, huh? Beast Boy was then yanked towards the looking glass, completely defenseless to his would-be doom. Cyborg quickly gets there in one swift leap to grab an ankle of the distressed shapeshifter. Both Titans are yanked through the looking glass, which returns to its normal appearance and gives off a small puff of smoke, leaving the impression that nobody was even in the room. Nevermore, Sunday. The two were then dumped onto a large rocky body, which seemed to be floating randomly in an environment that could pass for outer space, populated with red stars and a few large asteroids. Upon landing, the two look up to see the portal close behind them, leaving them stranded on an unknown world. The two eventually picked themselves up and looked around the strange new area with confused frowns. My sensors must be on the blink, 'cause they're saying we're in Titan's Tower, Cyborg commented as he looking at a panel on his arm, with the screen confirming that they were still inside Titan's Tower. It sure as hell didn't look like it. Guess we start walking. Oh, come on. I'm serious. We're on a rock in the middle of Beast Boy ranted to his dear friend, until a groan of movement reached their ears, and it's a big one. In the middle of the void before them, several fragments of the floating rocks rearrange themselves to form a winding path to another large asteroid. The two share a glance, before setting off on their journey. After having to escape a fleet of Raven's, Cyborg having to save Beast Boy from falling off of a collapsing bridge, meeting a pink-cloaked Raven, having the world flip on them, and walking with the pink Raven, the two boys had to ease a migraine the size of the earth while trying to figure everything out. Even though they knew they were in some deep water with the real Raven later, the need to escape this realm possessed them. Jump City, Titan's Tower rooftop, Sunday. On the roof of the HQ of the Titans, Raven is in her meditative pose, floating in the air with her legs crossed, and he arms out in a contemplative fashion. She was partly successful in repairing the mental damage from her earlier explosive distress. Beast Boy should have known better than to agitate her. Even with Naruto helping her in her therapeutic sessions, she wasn't able to calm down quick enough from her outbursts. Although she was better at keeping a lid on her chakra and emotions, she wasn't perfect. She still was jealous of Naruto and his emotional stability though. She had admitted that to him often when they were training, but he frowned at her sometimes and shook his head. She didn't understand why he responded to her with that, but she could feel sadness roll from him, and he looked like he was thinking deeply for a moment before he quickly returned to his normal self, just with a more forced smile. "Raven, are you okay? We stopped by your room and the door has been knocked down," came the voice of the leader of the Titans, Robin, who was walking towards her with Starfire. His tense and apprehensive voice shook her from her thoughts. She was about to respond, completely missing the second half of his words, when it happened. Raven's eyes pop open, wide as saucers, before she laughs uncontrollably and strangely. The fit of laughter scares the other two Titans out of their skins. She cuts it off by clapping both hands over her mouth and regaining control of herself with a profuse and embarrassed blush. "I need to be alone," she states with a glum and emotionless voice, as she phases through the floor under her. Starfire, who was looking at the ground that Raven phased through, spoke to Robin without looking at him. "I may not know a great deal of Earth, and your ways are still strange to me, but that was freaky. Correct? Jump City, Titan's Tower. Raven's bedroom, Sunday." Upon phasing into her bedroom, Raven quickly notices the wrecked door of her room. She looks around the frame, before casting her eyes to the door now situated on the floor, becoming another decoration for the room. It wasn't to her taste, as she used her powers to quickly put the door back in place. After fixing the door and wall with a simple wave of her hand, she walked further in, before stopping short at the hand mirror on the floor. She looks at it for a moment, before gasping with a horrified note. "No," she spoke with worried tone, before she too entered her mirror to get the victims out of there. "Nevermore, Sunday, the forbidden door," were the thoughts of Cyborg, as he remembered the words of the Pink Raven, whom had since vanished after leaving them an ominous warning about not going to the door at this point in time, and leaving them in their current environment. They were originally in beautiful, picturesque landscape with a yellow sky, stone arched springs and floating islands overhead. The fauna and nature of the area was perfection. The meadow was breathtaking, with the odd floating strawberry. Now they are back on the winding stone path again, with some of the red stars being much closer, revealing that they were black stars with a red glow. Bibi was bitching some more about the recent events, complaining that the Pink Raven had ditched them. "Hey, I know where we are." He spoke with an unnerving glare at the world around him, before his face contorted into an angry one from its glaring and deadpan one. "We're in that place where I didn't know where we were before. What Kami's green Gaia are you two doing in here?" A voice sounded from behind them, and it was annoyed. Very annoyed. He also seemed to have a slight suspicious note to his voice. The two quickly spun round to see Naruto floating down to them in his chakra mode mixed with sage mode, the same form he took to battle Blackfire with. "Wait, why was Naruto in here? Did he get sucked in like they did?" Cyborg asked him the most obvious question with a dumbfounded expression. Why are you here? Where is here anyway?" Naruto, who had touched down in front of them, stalked up to them with a deadpan expression, with a hint of worry embedded within it. He sighed loudly before addressing them. "You're in Raven's mind, Nevermore," he explains, before leaning to the side to see someone. "Ah, Grey Raven." The others looked perplexed, before seeing that there was indeed another Raven stood there, and like what the blonde had dubbed her, the cloak is now gray. She holds a very depressed and fearful expression on her face and in her stance. "Hey!" The mechanical male comments with a contemplative expression with a raised brow, before he notices something at the end of the path before them. He points ahead down the path toward the asteroid at the end. That asteroid has dead trees littering it, but it also holds a portal made from stone with a formation above it that looks like Raven's hood slightly obscuring it. "That's that forbidden door, right? Grey Raven?" The girl in question nods worriedly. As she finishes, the cybernetic male starts to run to their ticket home. "Come on, y'all! We're almost," he starts announcing with a sense of victory, but is interrupted by high metal wall springs up from the stone's surface to block his rush to freedom. Whoa! More walls emerge to box in the group, before more walls emerge in the nearby area to create what the two didn't need at this point. A maze, and a large one at that. The maze has assembled itself, with Naruto looking at the two boys with a sheepish smirk. Beast Boy quickly transforms into a hawk and flies up toward the open top of the newly formed labyrinth. Just as he is about to surmount the walls and escape to freedom, a force field crackles to life, electrocutes him, and sends him crashing to the ground. He sits up in human form and rubs his head after taking a small breather. The changeling mumbles something as Sai activates his arm cannon. "Oh, come on, man, we gotta get out of here!" He screams out in desperation and panic. He fired a few bursts at the walls. It's all for nothing, as it does nothing in terms of putting a scratch in them. It's a maze. The gray-cloaked raven states with a dejected voice, easily matching her facial features. "You can't get out. You have to go through. I can show you the way, but when we reach the end, you won't like me anymore." Beast Boy and Cyborg sulk and look depressed, with the air around them heavy with despondency. That quickly turned to irritation, as Grey Raven started her trek down the maze, leaving them. The two boys glance at Naruto, who vanished, only to see him walking alongside the depressed Raven. The two then follow, with Beast Boy making whispery comments about the situation. With Grey Raven and Naruto leading the tour through the maze, the sulking Raven was apologizing to the boys for anything she said to them, or even behind their backs. The two unauthorized visitors were livid and annoyed at her admissions of guilt. While it was okay that she was saying sorry, they had to listen to over 100 apologies. The two told the confessing female that it was alright, and Naruto nodded to her with a knowing smile, letting her know that he forgave her too. After moving through the convoluted architecture, Grey Raven eventually stops at a seemingly normal wall. She waves timidly at it, gaining quizzical looks from the two newcomers of Nevermore. It slides open like a pair of interlocking doors to reveal a short route that leads out of the maze. Not far from them, two tall stone statues are positioned on either side of a stone arch, guarding the pathway before the group. They wear long cloaks and have faces that match the masks in Raven's room. Each has only one arm, with his on the side closest to the walls next to the individual one. Naruto frowns, remembering his encounter in this segment of his first journey here. "That's the end," she told them with the same depressive tone, looking ahead with a slight fearful expression. Two of the boys praise her for efforts in helping them, while the third, Naruto, remains to hug the poor Raven, whom is still sulking, but eagerly accepts the hug. The two males that head for the egress didn't notice any of this, as they only have one thing in their minds: escape. The eyes of the smiling statue glow red, followed by those of the frowning one. Before the escapees could get far though, the statues move in front of them, with their backs facing each other. They slam together back to back. Upon fusing together, the head quickly turns around on its neck 3 times, without seemingly affecting it. The smiling face, then the face with the frown, then the smiling face again. Soon after the twisting of the head, beautiful broadswords materialize in both its hands, and after that, the double sculpture grows a second set of arms on top of the original set. Cyborg releases an annoyed and frustrated groan, and pulled on thin air near his head, almost like he was pulling on invisible hair. This whole trek was one annoyance after the other, and now this is thrown in. It was incredibly vexing. The Grey Raven looks at the two leading males, before speaking in what seems to be her standard tone. "Told you, you wouldn't like me when we got here," she says while still hugging Naruto, before she vanishes into the floor. The guys, however, have no time to worry about her, due to the fact that the stone giant is advancing toward them, with the intent to remove their continued existence. Cyborg and Beast Boy back away nervously from it. The Guardian draws its swords and bears down on them. Beast Boy shapeshifts into a hawk and flies at it, while Cyborg lets loose blast after blast from his cannon. The cybernetic teen's attacks doesn't even make the living statue flinch. The green hawk swoops down, talons extended, ready to cut the stone golem into chunks, only to be caught in one of its free hands, before being squeezed cruelly. The creature reverts back into Beast Boy, before he is thrown into Cyborg, causing them to land in a heap on the ground. The Guardian stalks up to them, only for Raven's voice to stop it in its tracks, and she sounds radically different. Far more lively and boisterous. A green-cloaked Raven appears, side-swiping the statue with an otherworldly kick to the head that sends it toppling to the ground, before she slices it in half with just her index and middle finger, causing the stone creature to explode in smoke and rock being scattered in all directions. As the billow starts to dissipate, it is revealed that the former Guardian has been split in two, very destructively, leaving Cyborg and Beast Boy staring in pure amazement at this new incarnation of their fellow Titan. Their jaws are slack and they are wide-eyed. Naruto whistled in appreciation. "Hooah! High fives! Come on!" she shouts in joy as she looks at the males before her with her hands up ready to receive the high fives, not giving a care to the destruction she just caused. She notices Naruto standing away from the two males, and is about to saunter up to him, only for Beast Boy to stop her strut. What is your deal? First you nuke breakfast, then finally laugh at my jokes, then you're all weepy, and now you're a Marine? Make up your mind. Who are you? He asked while nearly ripping his hair out in a crazed manner. This whole event was clearly not doing well for his mental health. Just as the green raven gives him a quizzical look, at the same time, a grinning pink raven leaps into view, along with the glum gray one coming up through the floor. Cyborg is figuring things out, BP'ing everything that's being presented today. Happy, timid, brave, he mutters, as he raises his brows, finally clicking on and finally figured things out. You are right, Cyborg, these are different sides of the Merry Raven's personality, confirmed the blonde war hero behind them, as he walks to them, noticing someone else has turned up, and she wasn't amused at all. As always, your attention to detail is perfect, Cyborg, and I trust you were keeping an eye on these two, Naruto? Comments an enraged voice from above. The real raven floated down, and landed in front of her three emoticlones, who faded away the second she touched ground. I heard the commotion as I was walking not far from your room, and when I arrived, your door was knocked down, and your mirror was on the floor. Upon not sensing these two, I realized where they went and followed after them. He told her seriously and honestly, before smiling at her and scratching his cheek sheepishly. It took a bit to find them, and longer to get them here. Before the two boys could even argue a comeback to Naruto's help, Raven started talking, and it was clear who she was directing it to. The mirror you found is for meditation. It's a portal into my mind. Not a toy, she yelled intimidatingly, with her voice going demonic at the end to get her point across to him through gritted teeth. The guilty boys knew the last 4 words were aimed at Beast Boy, and he knew it too. Said direction of her anger gains nervous sweat on his head and recoils in fear. While still in a retreated form, he chuckles nervously. My bad, he mutters, as the ground rumbles and trembles. Naruto's eyes widen, sensing the sudden flux of demonic chakra in front of them. He's glad that he arrived now, and he's glad that he jumped straight into his chakra mode with Sage mode and stayed in that mixed power-up. Before Raven could tell the intruders to flee, an unholy roar stops all movement. A gargantuan black vortex has formed over the horizon and it expands exponentially. Naruto instantly notices the massive well of demonic chakra flowing in and out of it. It was incredibly frightening. Gradually this retreats from the top down to expose a super king-sized humanoid male with red skin, flowing white hair, and 4 glowing yellow eyes. He is clad in a black and gray loincloth, steel wristbands, and a belt similar to the one Raven wears, as well as a jewel on his forehead. The belt is silver, set with black stones, and a matching piece is set at the throat to match Raven's brooch. He also wears shin guards to match his wristbands. There are short, curved black stripes on the arms and chest. This is Raven's father, the great demon Trigon. Hatred shall rule. The entity roared out in sick glee, before he released another demonic scream to the heavens. Raven and the stare up at his sheer size, with Raven and the 2 uninvited guests slowly stepping back. Naruto, however, hasn't budged from his spot, and looks at the demon with unflinching eyes. That's Trigon. Kurama roars out in Naruto's mind, causing the blonde to black out, and his heart to stop momentarily. I have issues with my father, let's leave it at that. Raven explained to the boys, before she sensed yet another spike of demonic chakra, yet it was mixed with someone else's. A loud shout and a large flash of light screams behind her, Beast Boy, and Cyborg. The 3 turn around to see the source of it, and it's Naruto with his arms high in the air, and his chakra exploding out in all directions. He is also the epicenter of the scream, which seems to be in tangent to him powering up. Hey! Naruto screams, with a deep demonic voice starting to echo over his speech like what Raven's did when she attacked Dr. Light, only much different. When Naruto threw his arms down, releasing the pent-up power, his chakra cloak begins to change. Like before, his entire body is coated in yellowy golden, flickering flames, with some flames now being black due to the outfit part they're connected to. His hair has spiked up even more, with the bangs over his forehead still pulled back to mimic horns, while the bangs that moved to the sides to mimic fox ears had now vanished. His outfit and clothing had changed somewhat from the first form they all saw. The formerly indistinguishable clothing due to the chakra cloak now wasn't there, as the shirt and interior cloak had changed color and became black. His Haori's high collar has gotten higher, and the bottom has become broken and seems to mimic fire. The sage mode patterns that were around his eyes are now the orange like it would be in his base form, and are the same size as its normal state. He still has black bars on his face in place of his whiskers. The Magatama patterns on his outfit are still black, however the Magatama that was on his chest is now gold, and he has bolder black patterns on his legs and arms. He has golden patterns on his stomach and chest as well. The same old white circle is still visible in his right palm. His eyes have also altered slightly, now having a more noticeable tint of red in them, and having a feline slit mixed with the toad pupil. Naruto breathed loudly, looking at the odd looks of the Titans, and the shocked one of Trigon. He grins a serious, but sadistic smirk. Well now, it seems like this tailed beast mode has you all so shocked. He did say we had more forms. Now come on, we've got a bone to pick with this bastard. A demonic voice says alongside Naruto's, one that jolts Raven, as she knows that voice from when she could read the blonde's mind when he first arrived here. So this was his demon coming through, plus she knew about the vendetta Kurama had with her father, one she would gladly watch with a bucket of popcorn, seeing her father getting the shit kicked out of him by a raging Bijou. Beast Boy and Cyborg look at their powered-up teammate in amazement, but nod in agreement. They were going to stay and back up their mysterious female teammate. That was until Raven spoke. This is my problem. I'll deal with it. If I lose, you'll be stuck in here forever. Get out of my mind. Now! Raven orders out with a shout, before using her telekinetic abilities to sling the boys to the portal. It only works for two of them, as Naruto sent his chakra to his feet, in order to stick him to the ground and prevent Raven from dislodging him. Just as Raven is about to shout at him, a quadruple blast from Trigon's glowing eyes hits the ground just in front of her, forcing her to jump clear. The demon sees the two boys near the now active forbidden door, causing him to stomp down the path after Cyborg and Beast Boy. He's about to fire a beam at them, but is stopped by a fiery ethereal arm and hand punching him hard across the face, causing to stagger back from the intense blow. Trigon eventually halts in his stagger, and quickly moves to attack Raven with all his might. Azarath Metrian Zinthos. The half-breed female chants as she brings up a black shield to protect herself from Trigon's energy attacks that cause her to flinch with each explosive hit. Daddy Not So Dearest unleashes another blast that cuts a long throw in the stone as it races toward her. So much rock and dust is thrown up that a smoke screen is formed in the area around the dark-cloaked girl. Trigon fires yet another eye beam, and this time it's more intense and destructive, but he catches it in his hand, before he swings it forward to throw a mighty burst at his daughter. It breaches the shield, and a second shot blows it apart altogether. There is a great cloud of dust, which clears to show her still on her feet, arms crossed to protect her head. But something is over her. A golden ethereal version of a giant fox head with extremely long ears. The flaming head is much like Naruto's tailed beast mode cloak, formed from flaming golden yellow flames with black patterns around the eyes and black whisker markings. It had distinct teeth and nose as well. Rage shall consume you, the demonic creature says tauntingly, trying to goad his daughter into giving into hate, to give into despair. Sounds like somebody needs a timeout. A familiar voice sounds through the area, before Trigon stumbles backward from an explosive blue blast to the chest and stomach. The attack had quite the punch it seems, as the demon topples off of the asteroid, falling beyond their line of sight. You stayed? Raven said as she looked back to Cyborg and BB, looking and speaking to them in disbelief. I thought you didn't like me. Beast Boy replies to her with honesty, bearing a worried expression, in case she truly didn't like him. Raven smiles at him and was about to tell him something, but Cyborg speaks. Yo, I like the three of you, he says with humor and mock hurt, while landing next to them. He's coming back. We need to buy some time. The ghostly head of the fox explains to them with utter seriousness. Kurama is right, on both accounts. Naruto agrees, while keeping his gaze on the rising Trigon, who slowly rises behind the hill that the portal is housed in. Once he's fully free of the cover of the hill, he raises his arms menacingly. Feel my fury! He roars out, only to stop in his attack by a flurry of wind-style Raisengans from the hands of the war hero, and the mouth of the ethereal head of Kurama. Raven, go get your other personalities, we'll buy you some time. Beast Boy suggested, much to the shock of the girl in question, and Cyborg as well, who is overhearing the exchange, as he begins firing his arm cannon at the demon, helping Naruto keep the father of Raven from advancing. The green machine jumps forward, preparing to jump into a new form, while Raven floats back, calling on her emotoclones. This is going to tear me in half, but it's time to impress. The changeling comments with gritted teeth, as he transforms once again, only this time, it's much more profound and extreme to his normal forms. The form BB took this time was that of a giant fox with green fur and darker green eyes with black slits. The form possesses the upper body structure of a human, complete with opposable thumbs on its clawed hands. It also has 9 tails lazily moving around. The Kurama form of BB roars forward towards Trigon and begins his assault on the demon with punches, kicks, bites, and smacks with his many tails. Trigon tries his best to defend and dodge the wild and uncoordinated attacks of Beast Boy. He even tries going on the offensive, by bringing in energy attacks, and swipes of his clawed hands to try and deter the giant fox, only to receive hard-hitting energy blasts from Cyborg that nearly rips through the torso of the demonic beast, causing the beast to crash into the ground with a flinching and sickening skid. Cyborg has a bubbling orange form around his body in the form of a tailless fox. He looks on in shock at how much damage his attack caused, glancing at Naruto with his eyes wide open in disbelief and awe. Yo, this cloak is incredible. My power is through the charts. It's not the first time I've done this. Now come on, let's kick ass. Naruto explained before declaring with a confident smirk as he removes his hand from Cyborg's shoulder. Naruto then charges up again, and the head of Kurama floats up and grows in size, while more of the body appears completing its form with the same flaming golden chakra with black patterns. I don't know if I should be proud or not for Beast Boy mimicking my proud form. The chakra avatar of Kurama spoke with uncertainty, as she gazed at the slightly sluggish BB mimicking her form, and easily noticing him slowing down. No doubt from overexerting his power, and getting tired due to how much energy would be needed to gain that form. A panting Beast Boy gets a fistful of Trigon's long flowing white hair, before slinging him into the ground with a sickening thud, kicking up a large amount of smoke. As he was about to kick the demon into the ground, he is blasted back by an explosive blast to the face, causing him to recoil, tumble, and fall to the ground, further trashing the rocky landscape. BB then reverts back into his normal state, panting and nearly unconscious. Trigon climbs up and notices the downed changeling and grins sadistically. He moves to finish him, only to get speared in the side by Kurama, and tackled into the ground. Cyborg moves in and picks up his friend, looking down at him with pride for his unyielding spirit to jump and protect his friends. Naruto and Kurama fly up into the sky and charge up a tailed beast Raisin Shuriken, with the core of a typical tailed beast bomb, and the large rotating blades of the wind style, Raisin Shuriken. Take this, you pillock! Naruto shouts sardonically, as the joined warriors fired their attack, sending it straight to the prone Trigon, who takes the attack head-on. The end result was a colossal explosion that blinded the landscape and lit up the fragmented planet for many miles. During the blinding event, the real Raven is surrounded by her duplicates, with 7 in number. Around the dark-cloaked Raven is the pink, gray, and green ravens the boys are familiar with. What they're not familiar with are the additional yellow, brown, orange, and lavender sides of Raven. The yellow Raven wears glasses, perhaps representing her cerebral aspect, while the orange Raven has sleepy eyes. All 8 rise into the air with the 7 doubles starting to spin about the real Raven. The 7 orbiting ravens spin faster and faster, until they are visible only as colored blurs. The formation gradually turns white, before the white light explodes outwards, blinding everything in its brilliance. Trigon, in his battered and damaged state, somehow got up and glared defiantly at the floating Naruto and Kurama chakra avatar. He growls out at them and is about to attack, only to get blindsided by a white energy band that wraps around his form, from shoulders to waist. The demon looks back to see Raven, only clad in all white instead of black. The giant smiles evilly at her, before he breaks loose of her binding spell. White Raven rises into the air, arms crossed in front, and her eyes and mouth start to blaze brilliantly with the same white force that pours from her hands. Trigon sends 2 huge beams from his hands toward her in response. The 2 energies meet at a point between them and cancel out. It becomes a tug-of-war, with the balance point shifting back and forth between them every so often. Trigon seemed to have forgotten about the others, as his back is about to be struck by combined energy blast, one that's a mix of cyborgs and Narutos. The main body of the attack, cyborgs, is a large blue energy bolt that comes from his arm cannon, while that attack is orbited by small wind-style Raisengans. The attack thunders into the back of the beast, causing him to arch his back in pain, making him lose control of his side of the tug-of-war with White Raven. "You are going back where you belong," the white-clad Raven calls out as she sends her beams surging into Trigon's face with great effort. There is an incredible flash when it hits, and the growl of pain from the beast shows how painful it is. The flash fades away, to show that he has turned into another copy of Raven, with 4 red eyes and a dark red cloak. Red Raven drops to the ground in front of the real Raven, whom is still wearing white. The body of the Red Raven disintegrates into a bolt of energy that crackles into White Raven's body, throwing her into an unbearable rictus. One final flash blinds the area with smoke, which quickly clears to show only the Titan standing in her normal blue cloak. She bowed and pants as if she has just taken the beating of a lifetime. She tries to straighten up again, only to moan weakly and collapse backward only to be caught by Cyborg and Beast Boy. Naruto floats over to them, his Kurama battle avatar vanishing in flickering flames, leaving him just in his tailed beast mode. Naruto touches down in front of Raven and the guys, before putting his hands on the 2 more tired members, Beast Boy and Raven, and giving them an energy boost. "We gotcha," Cyborg comments to his friend, not noticing the bubbly chakra shroud he got from Naruto has whisked away into the wind before it vanished into nothingness. "It's okay, now," BB reassured the caped crusader with a croaky voice, sounding similar to Raven herself. He slapped a hand over his mouth, with the others giggling at his need for a drink. Raven blushes lightly and rubs her head nervously. "Thank you, friends. So, we really are friends?" The dry-throated changeling questions, while trying to get rid of his embarrassed blush. The ass-skinned female nods in confirmation, and beams a small smile. And you really think I'm funny?" He persists with a large smile, getting some of his voice back. Raven's smile fades slightly. She wasn't going to admit everything. "Don't push it." Jump City, Titan's Tower. Raven's bedroom, Sunday. The 4 re-emerged from Raven's mirror in a similar fashion to how they entered, only minus the hand grabbing them. The group of 4 landed gracefully, with Naruto patting his leg slightly, as he looked at the watch on Cyborg's arm, seeing that it was 21:19. Cyborg looked at the blonde with an annoyed look, before it contorted into a knowing look. "You know, you'll have to tell us about that form, right?" Naruto nods and exhaled a sigh. He knew this day would come, and he tried to hardest to not let much out. But today, he had told the team more of the story, since they heard the blonde's speech to Blackfire, and he had showed off yet another transformation. While he could famously try to steer the conversation to not get him to explain about his past, but he was tired and exhausted, he couldn't be bothered anymore. "I'll tell you everything." She could be upset, or came the voice of the other alien friend of the team, Starfire, who was clearly outside the door about to knock. She was interrupted by the other person out there, Robin. "I don't want to bother her," he stated with distress and a grunt. Beast Boy sighed and laughed slightly, while Naruto rolled his eyes, knowing what was going on. Robin was trying, and failing, at keeping the curious and worried Coriandar from entering the room. Raven opens the door, allowing the group to see Starfire relaxing with a gasp before smiling. Robin tumbles backward to the floor after Starfire seemed to sling him back when she pulled her arm back. Starfire sees Cyborg, Beast Boy, and Raven are standing in the doorway, with her blonde crush behind them. Robin gets to his feet after a moment, and glares at the group who seemed to vanish for the majority of the day. Did they not know how difficult it was to keep Starfire busy? At least she had her attention of the blonde of the group. He felt sorry for him. "Where have you guys been?" the boy wonder asked with a curious voice, but a serious face, with the serious face being typical of him. "Just getting to know each other, right?" Cyborg tells him with a smile, knowing that while it's the truth, it was kind of forced, since they did invade Raven's mind. Raven smiles and blushes again as she looks at the tallest member of the team. "I don't know about you, but I'm hungry." "It's a little late for breakfast, isn't it? Or is it too early?" Beast Boy comments as a loud rumble roars from his stomach. He didn't know what time it was either, so he didn't know what meal to have. Actually, dinner sounds nice. A large dinner. Beast Boy is caught off guard momentarily, realized what the time was thanks to Raven's words. He quickly smiles brightly, and his eyes seem to brighten up in joy and bliss. "A large dinner?" Coming up, Cyborg nods to Naruto, who sighs loudly, before looking the team leader in the eyes. I'll tell you more now, Robin, and I will answer anything you want. Seeing as you can plainly see this transformation, my tailed beast mode. Plus, I know that you have other questions on your mind. Naruto explained and clarified. He knew that the detective of their group was the most curious of the group, and since that Robin couldn't get anything of Naruto since he's not from Earth, he'd have to ask him. Plus, it would help connect a bridge between the two. Naruto got along easy with Starfire, Cyborg, Raven, and Beast Boy. With Raven being the hardest of them four, and Beast Boy bringing in a flurry of déjà vu, because Naruto saw himself in Beast Boy. Robin on the other hand brought forth another form of déjà vu, with Robin being similar in a way to his friend, Sasuke Uchiha, minus the obsession for killing relatives, and going on a spree across the nations and whatnot. Robin nodded his head to Naruto, and the team made their way down to the living/main ops room to get the large dinner on the way. And answers: unknown location, Sunday. A number of hours had passed since the team ate a large meal, and it was indeed a large meal. All the team was stuffed at the end of it, even the mighty stomachs of Naruto, and Starfire was no match for the food provided. Naruto had also turned off his tailed beast mode after sitting down at the table, before the army of food overwhelmed them. He also told them a bit more about his past and even introduced them to Kurama, who was very enthusiastic about speaking to the group, instead of making comments about them in Naruto's mind. From his early years in the academy, the mission to waive the Chunin exams, his mission to get Tsunade, and his mission to get his friend, Sasuke Uchiha, back. He told them bits and bobs about each of them, nothing too deep though. He glossed over his 2.5 years' worth of training before he returned to his village. He talked about his mission to save Gaara from the Akatsuki, battling Orochimaru and Sasuke, before he talked about his fights against the Akatsuki once again. He explained to them about his battle against the Akatsuki leader, Pain, the Kage Summit, and the training he had to work alongside Kurama. Then he talked about the Fourth Great Shinobi World War, and how much devastation it brought. He told them about his battles throughout the war, his fight against the incredible 10-tailed beast, Jubi, his death by the hands of Madara Uchiha and subsequent revival by the aid of an enemy-turned-ally, Obito Uchiha. He then finished the war segment of his story after explaining his fight against Kage Otsutsuki, and the resealing with the aid of his friends, and the aid of another who he chose not to mention. Every so often, the group would ask questions, and he would expand, but some he didn't want to expand on. Kurama was the same when she was asked questions. They eventually gave up for the night, and decided to get some well-needed sleep, some needing it from the fight they had today, the others needing it to sort through what Naruto had told them about his rough world. Robin wasn't too happy when Naruto brought up that he had killed people on his world, and had told him not to kill people on Earth. The Titans don't do that. Naruto didn't really answer, but he nodded, albeit reluctantly. Right now though, Naruto had returned to the space between the multiverses, and was sat before the Naruto Otsutsuki, or Nightmare, who was telling him about the rules of the multiverse. There were rules apparently, although they were really considered warnings, since Nightmare had told Naruto of the Titan universe that he wasn't the first to look through the multiverse, but is the only one alive that can do it, since that last one tried jumping into another universe in order to cheat death. It didn't end well for him, because the second that version of Naruto entered the wrong universe, the laws of reality tore him asunder. Since there can only be one Naruto in one universe, if a multiverse traveler entered the wrong universe, that universe would kill him in order to keep itself stable. The only way for there to be another Naruto in the same universe is if there was a time paradox, but that was a whole other ball game. It seems the other guests have arrived, Nightmare commented, as he looked to the side, with an unknown wind making his hair wave. The two other guests phased into existence a few meters from their seated forms, and they were both other Narutos. The one on the left, the shorter one, is a tall, tan-skinned, handsome individual, who has dark blonde, messy, spiky hair, and sea blue eyes. The hair being reminiscent Minato Namikaze, only with a side bang covering some of his right eye. He has the whisker markings on each cheek. His outfit was strangely simple, as it was just made up of pitch black pants, and a long-sleeved shirt of the same color, both acting as a jumpsuit. The back and sleeves of the shirt held the Uzumaki clan crest. He also wore black sandals. Over this, he wears a short-sleeved, knee-long, blood-red coat that is decorated with black flame patterns around the hem. The back of the coat also held the Uzumaki clan crest for the world to see. He had his forehead protector headband around his left arm, with its metal plate, and a Konoha symbol cut into the metal. The other Naruto, the adult one, is tan-skinned, tall, and handsome as well. He also seemed rougher, wise, and more serious. His eyes contained the Rinnegan, but was a sky blue and glowing faintly. His hair was shorter than Naruto's who came from the Titan universe, and was a faded red in color. He had black bars on his cheeks to mimic whiskers, much like the tailed beast mode. He also has 10 truth-seeking balls hovering over his back. He wore a navy blue, bordering on black admiral uniform. It looked like a suit, complete with a white shirt under a closed suit jacket, and a black tie. The jacket was denoted by 3 rank insignia enclosed in a rectangular frame worn on both sides of the uniform jacket. The rank stripes were also on the sleeve, seen as a group of 5 stripes towards the cuff. The jacket also had red and white lines along the shoulders and chest, which ran up to the neck. The pants of the outfit was a shade darker than the jacket, with the outfit being complete with the black boots he was wearing. Naruto Namikaze, and Vice Admiral Naruto Uzumaki. Meet Naruto Uzumaki. Nightmare welcomed, before gesturing to each of them, introducing the group to each other as the 2 others made their way to the seated Narutos, and sat with them. This is so strange, you know. I'm sleeping in my world with 3 of my 15 animatronic girlfriends, and now I'm sitting with 3 other versions of me. Life sure loves to throw curveballs. The messy-haired Namikaze spoke with worry and slight shock. He still couldn't get over things in his real life, never mind meeting versions of him from other universes. He sighs loudly. Man, those girls would be going bananas. The Vice Admiral looked at his younger counterpart with a calm visage, but still raised a brow at the amount of girlfriends that the Naruto of that universe had. Life sure does throw curveballs. Right now I'm heading into a region of space known as the Delphic Expanse in my ship, with my close friend and his ship, to stop a race from destroying Earth, and removing humanity from the face of time itself. Naruto Uzumaki and Naruto Namikaze looked at Vice Admiral Naruto Uzumaki with shocked and near frightened looks. With the Titan Naruto Uzumaki not being as affected by it, since he's been through a horrible war, whereas the animatronic lover, Naruto Namikaze, hadn't experienced war yet. This is good, this is what I wanted to see. The different Narutos sat down, chatting, exchanging stories, and getting to know how different life would be, depending on the universe you're born in. Let's make the most of it, we may not get to do this often. It's an experience that you won't have, right? Nightmare praised and commented with a large giddy smile, as he looked from Naruto to Naruto. He felt like a kid in a candy store who found the most secretive of sweets and candy goodness. The 3 Narutos of the different universes nodded, before the 4 started chatting with each other for hours and hours, getting to know the other, getting to know the world they came from, even giving out advice to the other regarding a situation. It would be a strange, but rewarding experience to see how you would be, given different circumstances and outcomes. Naruto Uzumaki of the Titans did wonder the route of his future, and where it would take him, if only he knew. It had been a long night for the blonde war hero. Indeed, it had been some time since the Nevermore incident. Naruto had battled many enemies of varying powers and skills, yet none had matched the combined effort of the team he was connected with. While some had evaded them for the time being, that number was falling, and the crimes in the city had dropped much lower than projected estimates set out 2 months ago. The Titans had defended their city time and time again from different types of attacks and issues, and even with some of the enemies nearly successful in beating the team, they had all lost to the iron will and friendship of the mixed team. But none of that really mattered to Naruto at this point in time. He was questioning his allegiance and future. Ever since Jiraiya had re-entered Naruto's life, the blonde wanted to be around his godfather whenever he could. But therein lies the problem. The perverted mayor had asked the blonde to spy on his new-founded friends and teammates. Naruto had argued with the older man, saying that he wasn't going to spy on them, that he wasn't going to betray their faith and trust in him. Naruto wasn't a spy at heart, he couldn't be like that to his friends. It wasn't in his nature like it seemed to be with Jiraiya, but that was not meant to be, as the Toad Sage borderline threatened the blonde in question, calling on his loyalty to him, and explaining about some of the more powerful people in the world. After explaining about the Justice League members and their traits, Naruto had half a mind to contact them personally, but decided against it for the moment. After finally accepting the spy mission from Jiraiya, the older man backed off for a moment, until he demanded results and information about the team. The Titan ninja hadn't really spoke of his team to Jiraiya, only confirmed who they were and explained what the team set out to do. Naruto at this time also went out to deal with the cult of Trigon, and trying to find out about the connection between this planet and his own world. The war hero could tell that his godfather wasn't going to wait any longer to learn about the team. Naruto could sense that much with his own abilities, and his information about the cult and what he's discovered about Earth and Gaia's connection was placating him. But it wouldn't hold much longer. Naruto couldn't look at himself in the mirror, because he kept seeing what paths he could go down in his own reflection. Even his dreams and visits to his other versions in the bridge in the multiverse didn't help. He sees two routes he could go. 1. He could spill the beans to his godfather about the team, tell him everything he knows about each member he's learned from them, but that would put him in the crosshairs of the Titans and the League. The second route, though, would most likely turn him against Jiraiya, destroy his life as a ninja of Gaia, but he would finally break free of that life and fit in with life on Earth. While it would seem the second choice would be the best choice, he couldn't pick, and had trouble sleeping over it. The team had been noticing the drop in his performance and nature. He had withdrawn from the group, not a lot, but it was still noticeable. It was destabilizing his equilibrium, and it wouldn't be much longer until the blonde was forced to make a choice regarding his future: fully embrace his new life on Earth, or continue his loyalty to his godfather and world. Right now, though, he's facing his mirror on the wall, but looking down at the desk that rests under it. He's looking down at the very headband that shows his loyalty, shows his allegiance to Konoha, the elemental nations, and to Gaia as a whole. Naruto was looking at it with conflicting emotions. His entire life was connected to this metal plate joined with cloth. He must have been staring at it for at least half an hour, and he's done this every day for the last 2 weeks. Maybe he was going insane thinking all his answers could be solved by looking at a source of his problems. Kurama had tried giving Naruto advice on the matter, but the blonde elemental was trying to figure this out on his own. Create his own new life, or stay still in his old life? Naruto stared at the headband with a potent, scornful stare. The glare he's unleashing upon it could melt planets. It clearly was affecting his sanity, this whole issue about his loyalty. He didn't know what to do anymore. He was even thinking of leaving the team to gather his thoughts, explore Earth while he made up his mind. But Jiraiya would track him down. The Titans would also track him down. So whatever choice he made, he would suffer no matter what. It was his fault. He got into this mess by his own cowardice and inability to hurt the ones he holds close to his heart. He had to make the choice tonight regarding his future. A future with Earth and the Titans? Or a future with Gaia and his godfather? It's bordering on delusional, this is, Naruto. You'll never find your answers like this, Kurama told him bluntly and somberly. She really hated how the blonde had deteriorated so quickly over a choice. She needed to try to break him out of this, and although the blonde wanted to sort this conflict himself, it wasn't working at all. The blonde didn't say anything and looked at the diary he used to jot down his mission reports and thoughts about said missions. It's also where he's put down what he thinks of the Titans, both as individuals and collectively. The mission reports don't include anything on the Titans, since he didn't spy on them. It helped him figure out their strengths, weaknesses, and traits. What the mission segments provide is his dealings with the cult, and his search for the connection between Earth and Gaia, to help sort out his thoughts, speculations, and have it in written form if he forgot some pieces of information. Your heart knows what it wants, Naruto. But you don't want your brain to follow that choice, because you know the outcome of it. The blonde's oldest and dearest friend continued to lecture, fully knowing what path Naruto wanted to follow, but could feel the war hero didn't like the fallout that came from it. This time, though, Naruto did respond to her, but his voice was unsure and filled with worry about the imminent future. I already know what will happen if I don't go with what my heart wants, and I know what will happen if I do go with my heart. My gut instinct wants one, my mind doesn't want to get involved, and my heart goes for another. He replies to her with a crestfallen expression and a heavy heart. Then make the choice already, Naruto. If you keep this up any longer, you'll run out of steam, or worse. The large fox left it open for Naruto to interpret with his own imagination and experience. She was affectionate, yet firm in her comment to him. She wanted him back on track with his life, back to hanging out with the team, back to his potential girlfriends. She still teased him about trying to get multiple girls. Perverted demon fox. Naruto knew what she was implying at the end. The outcome where he remains loyal to his world and Godfather, and how it would destroy the bridge he created between himself and the Titans. He would need to cross that bridge to join them, or cut it down, and remain away from them forever. The blonde sighed as he tried to figure out how to sort out this dilemma of his. He then sighed again when he remembered what day it was. Well, what day it was for Starfire and her kind. Blordhog Day. No doubt the female alien would try to celebrate it with the team like she did with him all those years ago. And for Naruto, today would be a day he'd never forget. Jump City. Titan's Tower Living/Main Ops Room. Tuesday. It had started off a beautiful morning for Coriandar. The sun was out, the birds were singing, and the light breeze made everything even more majestic on the horizon. The city and nature of the view from her bedroom window added to the majesty of this day. She had woken up with a spring in her step and an objective set in stone in her mind. She had a nice bath, a wash, and wore clean clothes for this day. She even gathered gifts, toys, and foods over the course of a few days to make this event even more special. She was surprised no one heard her bubbly giggles and knocks in the corridors due to how excited she was to be sharing this special day with her friends. She had entered the collective room of their base/home with a beaming smile. With how joyful and hyper she was, love hearts might as well been floating around her head. Upon shouting Happy Blortog to the unsuspecting team, she was expecting questions and wonderment about what she had shouted. No, what she got was nothing. Literally nothing. No questions, no crowds of friends, no nothing. The team had completely ignored her loud exclaim. Upon seeing what was causing the lack of response, she felt her heartstrings tug, and not in a good way either. No, they were all ignoring each other or fighting. Raven had sat off to one side and reading one of her many books. Robin stood before a boom box in the kitchen, and Beast Boy and Cyborg are playing on the game station once more. A thundering hip-hop track drowns out all other sound at this point, which was clearly coming from the Boy Wonder's boombox, whose hair was being blown back by the wall of sound. Cyborg and Beast Boy are having a tug-of-war over the game controller. "Come on, Beast Boy, give me that thing!" shouted an agitated Cyborg, as he tried to tug the controller to his body, only for the green machine to yank back. "Dude! I'm in the middle of a game," Cyborg roared back an equally annoyed Beast Boy during their squabble over a controller. Starfire, trying to get through to her friends about the occasion, called out once more as she walked deeper into the room. "Friends! Today is Blortog Day, the Tamaranian festival of friendship. It will be a glorious celebration of our dear friendship," she explained in bliss and with a massive grin on her face, before she realizes that no one is paying the least attention, and that hit her like a mental car crash. Disgruntled, she looks around the place and drops the items she has carried in, except for a few strands of jingling bells that hang from her wrists. The sounds of a struggling Cyborg reaches her ears, and she makes her way over to him. "Joyous greeting, Cyborg. I want to give you this to Nebula as a symbol of," she starts within a happy tone, before she gasps as Cyborg is yanked away from her by a tentacle monster form of Beast Boy. "You're gonna pay for that, you little grass stain," shouted Cyborg as he's yanked away from the momentarily crestfallen alien. Raven, still buried in her book, is trying and failing at concentrating on her item of interest. She's trying to read up on what she can about Naruto's queries about the lost continent of Mu. She had to dig deep into her collection to find this, and because she started reading it today, she hadn't gotten far into it, and it really didn't help with these lot around her. Naruto was really patient with her, and he was really kind. The two had so much in common, but were also polar opposites at the same time. Naruto was as bright as any star, yet she was darker than any shadow. Their pasts were similar, they both had demons or connections to demons. They both fit well together, and the longer Raven spends time around Naruto, the more she's starting to fall for him. She could see why Starfire loved him so much, and how Naruto seemed to bring the light out of anyone. She, and no doubt the others, had noticed their blonde teammate had seemed to retreat into himself lately, not opening up, hardly speaking, hardly eating and drinking. She was very curious about what was going on, alongside the others, even if they weren't vocal in their worries, happiness and delight. "Raven, on this wondrous day I want to ask you to join," and came the voice of Starfire, interrupting the demonic bookworm from her studies and thoughts about their fellow blonde. Raven's eyebrow twitches at the redhead who's trying to spread the word of her culture and their holidays. She didn't really care for that right now, she had much on her plate right now, between the deafening music and the reading. Starfire understood the hint from the ash-skinned girl and backed off with a nervous little laugh. A vein starts to throb angrily on Raven's forehead on her next words, which she spoke with heavy sarcasm. Robin, could the music be a little louder? I can still hear myself think. Starfire, after getting rejected by the death stare of Raven, makes it to Robin and reaches to offer him the bells. As the free-for-all continues from the vicinity of the couch, Robin glares off toward the Beast Boy/Cyborg battleground and one vein after another stands out below his hairline. He also grits his teeth loudly, before he finally had enough. I only turned the music up to drown out all the yelling. His face goes red on the end of this line alongside the heightening of his voice. His head swells, and he shouts with enough force to blow Starfire's hair back. If Naruto was in the room, he would have complained about Irika teaching others his big head jutsu to others. Secondly, Starfire's response to the whole situation changed drastically from the excited one she entered with. Now she seems to be very, very tired of this whole idiocy. It didn't help with Cyborg putting Beast Boy in a headlock with one hand and seized the controller with the other, and with Raven and Robin butting heads in their own argument. Fortunately for Starfire, a hand landing on her shoulder shook her out of her funk. It further improved her mood when she saw it was Naruto who had reached her form. He gave her a knowing look regarding the situation. He moved his head to let her know to follow him. Starfire walked first, with the blonde following just after. The team wouldn't miss the pair in their current scraps, and so to help ease the emotionally distressed Starfire, Naruto took the redhead out to help clear her mind. They would go out and celebrate Bloodhog Day, Jump City, Titan Tower exterior, Tuesday. The two left the tower and walked down the wide path down to the currently offline obstacle course, as well as several other still under construction sites and installations. The stressed and tired Naruto was trying to comfort an equally stressed and depressed Starfire. The two were locked in an embrace, with the blonde trying to soothe and calm the redhead down. Starfire had nearly broken down through the experience in the tower. It was like she was experiencing Rekma, another cultural paraphernalia of the Tamaranians. Rekma, also known as the drifting, is a Tamaranian term for the termination of a friendship. She didn't want her friends to break up and drift away from each other. She didn't know if she could handle it. She loved her friends, and sure, they argued and had little spats, but what she walked into not too long ago, that was no little argument. Because of the distress, she couldn't use her powers, as many powers of her race are fueled by specific emotions. In her case, positive emotions and thoughts. She's going through an emotional turmoil and thus, not able to use her powers. Naruto was whispering positive words into her ear during their close embrace. He stroked her long, soft hair to try and calm her down too. It would have been better if she could rest her head over his heart to make her calm down with his smooth heartbeat, but because she was similar in height to him, it would be tricky to do that in a standing position. While he did suffer from slight fatigue due to his lack of rest and nourishment, he was wide awake to help deal with the emotional Starfire. Let it all out, Corey, he muttered softly into her ear, while stroking her hair and patting her back every so often. I am sorry, Naruto. I tried to stop, but I couldn't. I don't want our friends to fall out, not today, not any day. Our friendship, our team cannot break up like this. I don't know what to do, murmured out a sulking Coriandar, as she moved deeper into the hug, trying to calm her problems and banish such negative thoughts from her mind. It was hard for her not to think of such thoughts. It's alright, Coriandar. It's okay. They've had worse fights, remember. But the team always rebuilt itself stronger than before. I know today isn't the most brilliant of days for such an event, but trust me, they will get through this. It might be all sorted out later today. Right now, though, me and you could celebrate Blordhov like the old days if you wanted? He stated, trying to get her to see that it wasn't the end of the friendship of the Titans, before he offered the suggestion to her. Starfire looked up at Naruto with her sparkling jade-green eyes. She knew he was right regarding the team always having little internal conflicts and problems. She herself had got into issues with Raven and Bibi, while Naruto butted heads with Robin. But her feelings of woe and distress calmed down after the blonde proposed that they go celebrate like old times. Her frown returned to that beaming grin once more as she liked the idea Naruto had put forward. Can we get pizza first, please? Naruto chuckled at her response, before nodding his head to her. confirming that they would get some grub before their party. The two then took off to their favorite establishment via flight, Jump City, Pizza Corner Restaurant, Tuesday. The two eventually landed in front of Pizza Corner and ordered 24 meat lovers pizzas each. Naruto had also treated this as if it was a date as well, paid for the large meals, pulled her seat out for her, and complimented her. The whole package in terms of a date such as this. The lovely pair had taken their time during the course of the meal, choosing to speak to each other more than eating the food they wanted. Such is love. While the two did love each other, they hadn't acted on their respective feelings yet. Although with the strange feeling that was tugging at the back of the blonde's heart, the feeling of something bad happening in the near future, coerced the war hero to confess his feelings sooner rather than later. Right now, though, they were reminiscing about the past, catching up on things that the two didn't know, their plans for the near and far future, and what had happened during their lack of contact when Naruto lived on Gaia. Starfire had been worried about Naruto over the last few weeks, as he was hardly engaging with the team, hardly eating and living. It was like he had become a zombie, barely functioning as a person anymore and lacking life. He hardly smiled as well, and he was making mistakes during their training and acts to defend the city. She knew the others had noticed, yet they hadn't said anything to the blonde, hoping it would just be a phase, but she was glad Naruto was smiling again. Even if it wasn't as bright as before, she was ecstatic to see a grin on his mug once more. He did explain to her that he was unsure about his near future, and that is what's been affecting him lately. To say the Tamaranian was shocked was an understatement. She wasn't expecting the blonde to be thinking about leaving the team, judging by what he implied in his clarification to her about his problems. Didn't he feel welcome? Had something happened between him and a member of the team to make him consider leaving? Was it Robin's fault? Naruto explained to her that he had felt like this for a while now, but it was partly about him leaving the team, since it was attached to another personal matter that was connected to his future. He then went on to tell her that he had sorted it out now. All he needed was a rest to return to peak form once more. Starfire was pleased to know that Naruto was returning to his old self once more. She could tell he was getting through his tough time quite well, and it showed in his beautiful eyes that the shine was returning to brighten those orbs once more. She explained that her world had been attacked and reduced to a barren landscape by the very people whom she later escaped from. The Gordanians. She knew the blonde was saddened and angered by that. She recalled him telling her, when they were kids, that he wanted to visit the land she came from. Since she never told him about her being an alien, but it translated to him wanting to see her home world, which she explained was luscious and full of life like the land of fire was. Now it was like a mixture of the land of wind and the land of earth from the description that Starfire gave. The two stopped talking for a while eating and gazing into each other's eyes. Cerulean blue irises meeting jade and lime green eyes. They were enjoying each other's company in a content silence. Starfire then recalled a question she had been meaning to ask for some time now. Naruto, how do you think Blackfire is at the moment? Do you think she left Earth to right her wrongs? Starfire pondered, clearly wondering how her dear sister is after the events a while ago now. Since Naruto could sense other people, maybe he could see if her older sister was still on Earth. The blonde raised a brow at her in surprise but nodded. I could try and see, but I can't guarantee anything, Corey. I might not be able to pick her up, even if she was on Earth. But since I was able to see what her aura was like when she fought me, I might be able to pick her out. He explained to her, getting a nod from her in return, before he closed his eyes to meditate and change into sage mode. The features of said power-up appeared as it became fully active and stable. He was getting noticeably quicker at activating this state of his. After drawing in all the nature energy to transform, he then branched out across the world using his powerful senses and the energy of the world to focus and spread it out more. By doing this act, his energy was felt by every energy-sensitive person on the planet. After a few moments he felt the energy Blackfire gave off and homed in on it. Jungle, Tuesday, stood in a familiar forest was a panting and battle-damaged Blackfire. After leaving Titan's Tower many weeks ago, she wanted to see what she could do with her life. She went to go see her brother, since she knows where he's hidden, and confessed to him about everything she did wrong and asked for forgiveness. After explaining to her confused brother about what happened to make her change her original destiny of being a lost, dark soul, he understood why she wanted to do this, and secretly thanked the person who brought his older sister back. After reconciling with Wildfire, she felt a pull on her being to return to Earth, and she did just that to see what tugged on her soul and mind. It wasn't until reaching this jungle on some small island in the middle of one of the many oceans of the blue marble that she found the cause of the pull in question. It was a lonely priest whom always was surrounded by a great horned owl. After explaining to her the reason why he called to her, which was to help her on her path to redemption and to train her at the same time, he began training her and asking her to fly out and do a good deed once in a while. He did explain to her that she may never forgive herself for her previous crimes. She can work to correct that imbalance of sins and balance it with good deeds. Right now, though, she was surrounded by several copies of the priest on the pathway she was situated on, but all of them had similar, but varying power scales and abilities, and none of them was the original. No, he was floating in a meditative pose watching the ordeal take place. One could move about in a flash of light, something like Naruto used against her. One was very strong and used wood-based attacks. Another used ethereal skeletal limbs to attack and defend. The next one manipulated just about everything, and the last one could phase through objects of any type. Another point to add on was that they could use just about every element in the universe. She had done well to attempt to battle each of them at one time. Usually it was just one-on-one, but the priest decided to up the tempo, as it were. Indeed, she had done well to battle the copies of the mysterious teacher. Her years of training under the best that her species had, her years of being in the darkness really helped her cunning and expertise. But she did have to admit, she wasn't going to last much longer. Just as she was about to attack once more, the priest signaled her to stop, before turning to look to the side. As if he was searching for something in that general direction, or he sensed something that she couldn't. It seems that he's mastered it well. To be able to pick up on her energy, mine, and the copies from such a distance. He's really mastered the sage art. He thought to himself while studying the sensing capabilities being used, and how they were being bounced about to get a firm lock on them. Is something wrong? Blackfire asked, extremely confused by the pause and actions by the person training her. After looking at the direction of the sensor for a moment longer, he turned to look back at his student. He shook his head negatively. No, nothing is wrong, young one. Let us continue your training. Jump City, Pizza Corner Restaurant, Tuesday. Naruto calmly cut the connection to his sage mode, thus stopping him from sensing that far away. He opened his blue orbs once more to look upon the adorable and curious expression of Coriandar. He beamed a pleased smile at her, indicating that he was successful in finding Blackfire. He explained to her that he had found her sister, that she was on another continent, and that she was training hard with people who felt familiar. He quickly had to clarify what he had picked up, since she seemed to fret that the people Commandar was fighting was hurting her, which the people in question wasn't out to do, but were helping her grow as a person. After accepting that answer, the two finished their meals and made their way onto the street, where the day would get suddenly worse for the unconfirmed couple. Jump City Streets, Tuesday. The two had held hands after leaving the establishment. Although the two were nervous about performing that act, it was adorable in a strange way. The two stopped ahead of the pillar that held the outcropping of the pizza place, the same one she tried to destroy in order to free herself. It was also the same place that the two found each other after a few years' absence. It's also a coincidence that the two had first met each other in front of another fast food place on Naruto's home world. Maybe next time they could meet outside one on Starfire's planet? The two stood looking into each other's eyes. They wanted to tell the other how much they meant to them, tell them how much they want to be with them, tell them how much they loved the other. Starfire's heart yearned to be with Naruto, and she knew he felt the same. To some it may be quick, but they have known each other for years, albeit under disguise. The two have waited years to be together, and now they were around each other nearly 24/7 with the Titans. The two leaned in, their lips preparing to meet in the middle for what would be the perfect, passionate, long-awaited kiss. Since the kiss she gave him when she arrived didn't count, as he didn't add to it. But this time he was, and she was going to make it more intense. Just as their lips were about to connect, an energy-based attack fired at them from across the road to impact the street, causing a large explosion that rocked the surround area. The two had quickly bolted out of the way of the attack, with both jumping back away from the point of impact. When the two recovered from their immediate escape, Naruto and Starfire both quickly looked at their attacker, and were surprised to see who it was. It was Night Fox, and the positioning of his arm and hand pointed forward indicated that he fired the attack at them. The masked attacker cast his heterochromia eyes to and from the pair he just announced his presence to. He also watched as Naruto transformed into his tailed beast mode, no doubt ready to fight him. This will be fun. he thought as he looked at the powered-up Starfire, with her neon glowing eyes glaring daggers into his own. "Who are you?" the Tamaranian shouted in annoyance more than anything. How dare this stranger attack them just before they were about to kiss? The audacity of this person. "I am Night Fox, and as for the unasked question you were thinking of, I'm here for Naruto Uzumaki," he explained to them, his distorted and menacing voice cutting through the air like a hot knife through butter. The name immediately puts Naruto on edge, and he quickly turns serious in response to it. "Night Fox, this early? I knew this would happen, but to happen so soon." The blonde pondered as he slipped into his fighting stance. He knew for a fact that this would be a deadly fight. The blonde didn't have time to react, as Night Fox suddenly descended upon him with a mean right hook, before delivering a pavement-shattering axe kick. Naruto dodged the punch but couldn't maneuver himself away in time and had to block with his arms. The groan of pain echoing from the blonde's mouth indicated how much the blocking hurt him. Indeed, the act of defending against the kick forced the blonde deeper into the ground, breaking the tarmac beneath him. Starfire jumped into the fray with intensely bright burning eyes as she kicked Night Fox away. The kick didn't send him back as much as she thought, but it got him away from her Naruto. However, Night Fox quickly recovered and blasted them both away with a repulsion technique, sending the pair flying across the street and skidding into the asphalt before crashing into a building. The building breaks apart and crumbles onto the two heroes, kicking up a massive amount of dust and debris and scattering it around the local area. As Night Fox begins to make his way to the newly created ruins, he is bombarded by star bolts and Raisengans, with Naruto's attacks utilizing different elements with every Raisengan that explodes from the dust cloud. Night Fox is soon surrounded by an explosive field of colors due to the elements and energy types being directed at him by Naruto and Starfire. The tornado of energy and elements soon explode, creating a massive shockwave throughout the city. "Did we get him?" Naruto asked out loud as he tried to see through the thick smoke and matter that was created by the recent burst of light and force. The blonde's enhanced eyes could make out the beacon-worthy eyes of Coriandar, but still couldn't make out ground zero of their combined energy attacks to see the body of their enemy. The answer they got wasn't in their favor, as Night Fox was stood tall glaring at them. His clothes had been damaged by the energy blitz that ravaged his mighty body. How did he withstand that assault? He should have more damage. Kurama roared out disbelief. She couldn't understand how Night Fox seemed to brush off that. She was worried for Naruto, and now believed their chances of winner had dropped drastically. But that line of thought quickly stopped when she realized who she was talking about. She was talking about Naruto, the unpredictable ninja, soon to be unpredictable Titan, the war hero. She knew he got out of worse situations. Naruto shook his head, telling Kurama that he didn't know how to answer her roaring question regarding the current situation. He then teleported behind Night Fox and began attacking him again, delivering heavy-hitting punches to the midsection of the shadowy warrior, who staggers and recoils from the body-destroying blows. Night Fox quickly recovers, spins around, and attempts to defend himself from the expert patterns of his target. Naruto was trained well in regards to close-quarter combat, and it served him well. But Night Fox was no ordinary fighter, and he quickly turned the tables on the blonde war hero. The two kept their fracas in full swing, both bobbing, weaving, or blocking the strikes of the other. The dance was deadly, and even if one were to come out of this alive, it would be Pyrrhic victory. Although Naruto kept throwing surprising curveballs in the fight, it wouldn't last forever. Starfire continued to watch from afar, seeing the combat between the two veterans of combat, and was in awe of Naruto's fighting abilities and ingenuity. But she knew that the ninja couldn't keep up the pace in his side of the brawl. She had to join, and she knew what to do. The secret weapon Naruto had taught her, although it took a lot of figuring out with their slightly different anatomy and energy. Even though it was untested in battle and was only a prototype to see if it could even work with the race differences, it worked in the tests they conducted. Her eyes glowed more and her hair flared up, and at the same time a blue aura formed around her. 8 gates. Gate of life, open! She shouted as she opened up the energy gate located on the spinal cord. The increased blood flow could be felt through the veins of Starfire as her skin turned slightly red in the wake of the power-up. She had no idea what powers or abilities this would even give her due to her different energy usage. She could use this power-up due to the fact their race also had these power gates in their body, like Naruto's people do, that limit the overall flow of their ultraviolet radiation power, which is absorbed from a planet's star through a Tamaranian's skin. They normally can then manifest that energy to attack others within the form of star bolts, star spheres, starbeams, and star blasts. But due to their warlike nature, they could have many more abilities. Naruto had told her the risks of using this power from the personal experiences of people called Might Guy and Rock Lee. While it is an incredible power-up even to likes of the most powerful ninja of Gaia, its dangers and risks outweigh full usage of this technique. The blonde had been taught about it by the two main users of this skill and could even open up all but the 8th gate, the Gate of Death. Releasing the final gate uses up all of the body's energy while making the heart pump at maximum power. Exceeding the power of every other gate, the user is temporarily granted approximately 100 times their normal power, far beyond that of the 5 Kage and even nearly all the tailed beasts. Unfortunately, the side effect of opening this gate is that it comes at the expense of the user's life, causing the user to crumble to ash after their chakra runs out, having virtually cooked themselves from the inside out. This is unlike opening the other gates, which simply injure or damage the body. However, since her body was naturally much more resilient than those of the people of Gaia, she would last longer. Starfire, using her massive boost in power and speed, appeared into the fight and took the fight straight to Night Fox. Her sudden appearance caught him off guard as she slugged him viciously across the face, nearly breaking the mask and skull of Night Fox as he thundered across the road due to the punch from Coriandar. Night Fox continued to roll, bounce, and skid harshly across the floor before he crashed into a building. Naruto at this moment turned to address the powered-up Starfire, whom looked at him with uneased, but sad facial features. "I'm sorry, Naruto. I couldn't watch you getting beaten like that. I know I agreed to not use this form yet, but I couldn't," she started to explain to him, until he interrupted her. "We can talk about this later, Cory. Right now we need to deal with this, and I need to get changed," he told her with a serious look, before ending it a look of wonderment. As if he was contemplating something. "To get changed? What do you mean?" the clueless Starfire questioned, as she didn't understand what he was implying. She was shocked to see him return to his base form. "What are you doing? Are you ready, Kurama?" Naruto questioned his dear friend as he reached to tap into his most powerful state, 6-pad Sage Mode. "It has been some time since you last used this, Naruto. But I'm ready," the demonic fox replied to him with annoying tone. A tone that basically said you should have used this more. "I know, Kurama," he mentally told her with a sigh. He hadn't used this form since the battle with Sasuke. His eyes faded from their stunning blue to show the hallmark of 6-pad Sage Mode. His eyes are yellow, his pupils are a cross of vertical fox slits with horizontal toad slats, and there is no pigmentation around his eyes that would otherwise signify standard Sage Mode. His body then flashed into a new but similar form to what Starfire had seen before, but she did note that there were some very noticeable differences. Like before, his entire body is coated in yellowy golden, flickering flames. His hair has spiked up even more than before, with the bangs over his forehead still pulled back to mimic horns, while the bangs that framed his face spiked up and moved to the sides to mimic fox ears once again. His outfit and clothing had changed somewhat from the other forms she saw. A sort of circular design is featured prominently over his stomach with half rings around it. The whisker-like markings on his face had become thicker, and 10 Magatama markings are present on or around his collar. His clothing under the Haori had turned completely black, giving the appearance that he's wearing a bodysuit beneath the yellow coat. His Haori's high collar has gotten higher, and the bottom has become broken and seems to mimic fire. The Magatama patterns on his outfit are still black, with the Magatama that was on his chest remaining gold like his tail beast mode, and he has bolder black patterns on various parts of his body. He has golden patterns on his stomach and chest as well. The same old white circle is still visible in his right palm but is brighter. He also has 10 truth-seeking balls hovering behind him. After taking a breath to calm his body down from the extreme power-up, he looked over to the shocked Starfire. He really needed to get used to this form again. It was straining his body to use this form. No doubt Kurama could keep him in check, but he still needed to use this transformation more often. Night Fox had since climbed from the rubble of the building he crashed into, and looked upon his target. So, he's using that form. This should be fun, he thought with mirth as he positioned his left arm out straight with his hand open. He then began to charge an attack to fire at them, one that brought back memories buried deep within Naruto. Night Fox created a dark purple Rasengan-like orb of chakra surrounded by a series of white rings of chakra that orbit the main sphere. The great spiraling ring. He then fired it at them with intense speed, causing Naruto and Starfire jump to the sides to narrowly avoid the attack, which then soars out to sea and into the horizon, where it created a massive explosion that could be felt throughout Jump City. Jump City. Titans Tower Living/Main Ops Room. Tuesday. In the tower with the arguing team, that still was squabbling over their problems, a heated argument that could have no doubt destroyed the team, instantly halted in the wake of the explosion in the sea not far from their city. Dudes, what was that? Beast Boy asked, while still under the grip of an equally puzzled cyborg. It was a chakra explosion, and a large one at that. Raven told them, easily recognizing what energy it was, but the signature was just confusing. It felt similar to three people who she knew, but it didn't make any sense. It felt like a mixture of two with a tint of the third. Robin had looked out at the city through the external cameras to see large dust clouds and smoke erupting from the metropolis, and knew that a fight was going on. Maybe someone in that fight sent that out to gain their attention. Was it a misfire? Or did someone evade that attack? So many questions, and of course the only way to answer them is to do the obvious. Raven, teleport us to the battle. It seems that Naruto and Starfire are involved. He sharply asked of her, and explaining where their teammates were with the latter half of his speech. Raven nodded as the group of boys quickly made their way to her. She then tried to teleport to the location, only to find herself not being able to do so. Frowning, she tried again, but it ended with the same results. It was as if someone was blocking her from using her powers to get to that location. I can't teleport us in there. Someone has got a barrier up that's stopping chakra users from moving in and out of the battle zone. It is also disrupting my ability to move us near the site. Robin scowled at the problem at hand, knowing that their teammates were in serious trouble. He needed to be there to help them. I have a way to get us there, Rob? Cyborg told him uneasily, letting the group know that it could be risky. Raven raised a surprised brow at him alongside Robin. Do tell, Cy. Robin replied. I have been working on a method of teleporting, using the advanced technologies from the Gordanian ship we used to construct the tower, but also advances in technologies on Earth. It's still a prototype though, and I'm not sure it'll work for more than one person. But since this is an emergency, he explains while tapping a console on his left arm as it turns into its cannon form. The team looked at him in surprise. Cyborg had tinkered so much with the alien technology and advanced technologies of both Earth and the Gordanians to the point where he could teleport freely? It would increase their odds against enemies if it does work in a similar way to Naruto's. But with how Cyborg worded it, it seemed to act like ravens when she teleports the group. Dude, that's awesome! Shouted the hyper and excited Beast Boy to his best friend, who seemed to stumble at the shout in his ear. Robin also twitched his eye in pain, with Raven muttering something. Let's go, team, Robin said with a smile as he got ready to fight the second he appeared at the battleground to aid his friends. Cyborg grinned a large smile as a blue barrier of elongated hexagonal shapes surrounded them quickly. About 5 seconds later, the barrier crumbled away, leaving an empty room with the music player and TV still blaring out their assorted sounds. Jump City streets, Tuesday. The battle hadn't been going well for the two titans. Night Fox was a much better taijutsu artist than both Naruto and Starfire, and both were in their heightened states of power. Both heroes had worked together well to last this long, but even they couldn't keep taking the hits that their enemy was dishing out. For Naruto it was the equivalent of getting punched by a tailed beast. While they had landed heavy-hitting blows on Night Fox, he clearly had a higher tolerance to pain, had much higher endurance and stamina than both of them, and had more fuel in the tank as it were. Starfire couldn't fight for much longer due to the amount of damage she withstood, and with that on top of her utilizing the 8 gates, she knew she would get some time off for this. Her muscles were in agony due to the strain of this prolonged fight. She thought it would have been over by now, but she persevered, she kept in the fight. She wasn't allowing her Naruto to carry the fight all by himself. Although looking at him in his wounded state wasn't easing her thoughts regarding their situation. Naruto's left arm was damaged to the point he had problems moving it. The attire on that arm also was tattered, allowing people to see his headband around his left arm, with its metal plate, and the Konoha symbol cut into the metal. However, it now had a deep gash running across it, making it seem like he had turned rogue against his nation. Like Starfire, he also had marks all over his body, both bloody and non-bloody. Naruto swore under his breath as he looked at their enemy and his cosmetic damage. Night Fox's attire was damaged as well, and similar to the way that Naruto's own outfit had been damaged. The entire left arm was revealed to the world as a mechanical arm, far more advanced and sleek in comparison to Cyborg's. It was also made of a tougher material as both their attacks did nothing to dent it. His mask was the same as it featured little to no marks on it. Taijutsu, Ninjutsu, Genjutsu, and Bukijutsu. None of the mixed skills of combat was very effective against Night Fox. He was faster, stronger, and tougher than the pair of them at their strongest. This person also had far more experience than they did. And now, you will fall, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Night Fox declared boldly, as he focused his eyes on his target, the soon-to-be victim. Both Titans also took note with how he was standing. He was paying attention to his surroundings in case of a sudden attack. Suddenly, in a black flash, Night Fox appears to the side of a surprised Naruto. He then quickly punches the side of the blonde's temple, sending the war hero to tumble roughly across the floor and into the building. Although Naruto doesn't go through the brick this time, he just slams against it harshly, sending him back to his base form and laying down unconscious. Night Fox turned to deal with the distraught and shocked Starfire, until he was blasted in the back by blue and red energy bolts. He looked over his shoulder to see the Titan standing in front of the knocked-out Naruto. Cyborg seemed to have been the one whom fired at him, if his sonic cannon aimed at him was an indication to that. The red beam also seemed to have originated from the machine-enhanced man. Robin had his staff out ready to deal with this powerful enemy that seemed to have put Naruto down. He wasn't taking any chances. Beast Boy was ready to do battle in his standard form, but would quickly change into a fast-hitting animal to aid his comrades. Raven looked angry. Her powers were grabbing objects around her to sling at Night Fox. The team was willing to defend the fallen member with everything they had. Night Fox couldn't stay any longer. He had to leave. So with one last look at the team with a distant look of remembrance, as if he was trying to remember, he vanished with a black flash, leaving the street filled with only the Titans. Upon checking Naruto's body, they found a weak pulse and got him and the damaged Starfire to Titan's Tower's sick bay. Jump City. Titan's Tower's sick bay, Thursday. It had been over a week since the fight in the city against Night Fox, and it had been a tense and troubling week for the majority of the team. Naruto was in a coma due to the blow he received to the side of his head. Not only that, but Raven had tried to talk to the blonde by going into his mindscape to wake him, only to not find him at all. She found Kurama, and the tailed beast had told her that something else had happened in that fight. Apparently when Night Fox's fist connected to Naruto's temple in that last hit, the two joined minds. Whatever happened in that event though is beyond her, as she was shut out and couldn't break in. Raven informed the Titans about what she discovered. Luckily Night Fox wasn't able to access Naruto's mind, as Kurama and the blonde scrambled any attempt. Even though Night Fox didn't make any attempt to look through Naruto's mind and memories, the team had been working tirelessly to improve their abilities, techniques, and arsenals. If Naruto and Starfire, two of their fastest and stronger members, were taken down like that, with the former in a coma, then this person was not to be underestimated again. They were all trying to upgrade themselves somehow. Cyborg was finding new ways to update and augment his body with incredible technologies. Robin was looking at design ideas for weapons and an update to his outfit with better defensive and offensive abilities. Beast Boy was seeing if he could transform parts of his body on top of looking at new creatures to mimic. And Raven was practicing to see if she could recreate her white raven state, which meant dealing with her rage and darkness. Starfire, well, she hadn't left Naruto's side since he was placed in the medical bay of the tower, which is where she is now. It's a large room with a single door, a large window, walls filled with different sized screens showing various charts and diagrams. The pale room was brightly lit, and contained 2 main beds and 4 emergency beds that could fold out of the wall. The beds themselves also seemed comfy, unlike normal hospitals. There was also various equipment you'd usually see in a hospital around the beds, with support machines connected to Naruto to make sure he was okay. Well, as okay as he could be. His heart rate and beat was relaxed but strong. Mental activities were also shown on a chart and they were rising. But Naruto just wasn't waking up. Starfire had stayed with him as much as she could. She blamed herself for his current state. If she had reacted quicker, then the blonde wouldn't be in a coma right now. She could have done something to stop Night Fox from striking Naruto. Now she was here by his bedside, holding his hand as he remains in a sleep he might not wake up from. Starfire looked a mess. While she had freshened up numerous times, her messy hair and exhausted eyes showed the suffering she's been going through regarding the whole situation. She kept a soft, but strong grip on his right hand as she tried to stay awake. In case he woke up, she wanted to greet him and beg for forgiveness for her not acting in time to potentially save his life. The other members of the team had visited the war hero and the Tamaranian princess. Although they don't know she's a princess yet, the team expressed their worry for her and assured her that Naruto would wake up. As Coriandar was about to rest her drowsy head on Naruto's stomach to sleep, the opening of the door caught her attention. Her jade eyes landed onto who entered the room, and it was the Dark Titan of the group, Raven. Raven strolled to the left side of Naruto's bed, taking in the tired disposition of Starfire, before gazing at the monitors and screens on the wall behind the bed their male teammate was laying on. She quickly gathered that Naruto's condition was improving and might wake up soon, but she also gathered that Starfire was about to fall asleep on the blonde. In truth, Raven was also here to sit and watch over Naruto, but since Starfire was already camping here, it would be difficult to sit and watch over the male chakra user. Starfire smiled at Raven and greeted her. Raven returned the greeting with her own and explained that she had come down to see how they were doing. Since Cyborg was out getting supplies for his upgrades, something that Robin was also doing. Beast Boy, on the other hand, was sleeping, since he had overexerted himself with his training. Raven had been picking up Starfire's gloomy emotions and knew that she was still drowning herself in guilt over Naruto's comatose state. Because of her lack of happy emotions, the team was really down 2 members since Starfire wasn't generating many happy emotions, meaning her powers were minimal at best. Just as Raven was about to leave to let Starfire sleep, the Tamaranian spoke out to her. "Don't leave, you can stay, Raven." Coriandar spoke out softly and tiredly, indicating she was indeed knackered and needed sleep. But even then, she wanted to talk to Raven. Raven looked back at Starfire for a moment to register what she said, before she nodded and returned to the bedside. She pulled up a chair like the alien female had done and sat down. It was a strange experience seeing the two like this. Starfire was usually a very bubbly person, always smiling and bringing sunshine to just about every room she steps in. In the case of Naruto, it was how he slept. She had seen him sleeping every so often when he fell asleep on the couch in the ops room. He looked strong and ready to jump into any situation that was thrown at him there and then. Now Starfire looked a mess. She was hardly smiling, and the happy, hyper energy she generated was missing, replaced by the guilt and depression of failing to help someone close to her. And Naruto? He looked so helpless right now, so weak and fragile. Heck, Raven even wondered if it was even him every time she sees him like this. It was putting a dent in the team's morale. "I know you love him, Raven," Starfire opened up with as she kept looking at Naruto, interrupting the purple-haired girl from her reverie. Raven quickly shot her head to look at Starfire in shock, nearly giving herself whiplash in the process. Why did her female teammate think that? Was it really that obvious to her? The hooded titan decided that it would be best to come clean with it and not beat around the bush. "I will admit, I tried to suppress the feelings I had for him. I can see why you feel in love with him. He is a caring person, and he always puts others first before him. He always speaks his mind like I do and doesn't hide what he's feeling," she admitted with Starfire, who looked over at her with a small smile gracing her face. Raven continued with a small smile of her own. "Plus, his smile is infectious, and he can inspire anyone to fulfill their dreams and ideas. He is also fun to be around as he will respect your ambitions and will aid you through tough times." Starfire sighed softly, completely understanding Raven's words as she assimilates them and dissects them. She smiled softly as she examines the Dark Titan's facial features. Raven, while not showing many emotions on her face, showed a great many emotions in those purple orbs for eyes. They glistened with respect, care, and even some form of love in them as she spoke. The alien princess knew that Raven loved Naruto, and despite Raven's attempts at hiding it, Coriandar knew better. She could pick up on the signs, even if Naruto couldn't. "You love him, don't you?" Starfire asked her seriously, not leaving any room for debate. This caused Raven to widen her eyes in surprise, before resigning to her fate at the hands of the alien across from her. "How could you tell?" She spoke with a sigh. "I'm a good reader of emotions. I've known for some time about your feelings for him. But I know you know that I love him, and that's why you haven't made a move. However, I've got something that could help you with that. Starfire explained to her as she turned to address her. The last segment of Star's vocal communication made Raven blink before she settled for an unsure frown. She didn't know what to make about that bit, so she did the obvious thing and asked what she meant. What do you mean? She inquired bluntly. Starfire looked her straight in the eyes before dropping the bombshell onto the curious Raven. I'm a princess, but also my race is polygamous, as well as Naruto's. Meaning that both of us can have multiple spouses for varying reasons. Since Naruto is already betrothed to me, technically, we'll be getting together naturally. But both I and Naruto, mostly myself, will allow Naruto to be with other girls if we both want to. I personally don't want another man involved, but since other girls have gotten interested in him, namely yourself and Blackfire, I could let others in. But only a small number, as I know that Naruto doesn't want many girls, if he wants to go through with this. She explained with a knowing smirk. Raven looked at her with pure shock and surprise. She knew that Naruto was meant to be engaged to a member of the Tamaranian royal family, but to find out that Starfire, and to an extent Blackfire, were members of the royal family was surprising. But the shock came from that fact that Starfire had pretty much given the go-ahead to be in a relationship with Naruto, providing she was willing to share with others. Raven knew that her uncontrolled powers were doing something destructive somewhere. As it turned out, she had risen the waters around Titan's tower before it suddenly dropped back down again when she regained control, even though there was an uncontrolled blush on her face. Yes, Raven. I'm letting you join in, she told the blushing Raven, who seemed to try and hide deeper into her hood. Starfire then cast her eyes to the comatose Naruto, her facial features becoming sad once more. Now to tell him, when he wakes up. I could wait forever for him. I don't care how long I have to wait, she explained as she closed her eyes with a sad sigh, gaining a saddened look from Raven. How long is forever to you? Came a voice that startled the two girls from their saddened moods, causing the two to quickly look at the now active Naruto, whose open eyes were examining the pair of them. He was taking in their forms and quickly saw the disordered appearance of Starfire, easily knowing she had a tough time dealing with his absence. Naruto! The two girls shouted in surprise, before they both embraced him. Naruto jolted in amazement at the pair of them hugging him like this. He was really only expecting Starfire to do this, but Raven? That was something else. He hugged the two back and breathed loudly. I'm awake now, you don't have to worry about me anymore, he explained as Raven pulled out her communicator, and called the rest of the team and begun telling them that Naruto had arisen once more. What? Naruto is awake? Came Robin's voice echoing from the speakers on the device. Naruto, Raven, and Starfire heard Beast Boy and Cyborg nattering in the background, basically asking the same thing. I am, Traffic Light, Green Machine, and Chrome Dome, he said loudly so the device could pick him up, and in doing so the members of the Titans that were not in the medical bay could hear his voice, confirming that he was indeed awake once more. Cheers could be heard screaming from the Titans' communicator from the boys on the other side. The other members of the team explained that they were on their way down/back to see him, with Cyborg coming to also see if the blonde was a clean bill of health. As this was happening, Starfire noticed that Naruto's right eye was a lighter shade than before, an icy shade, while his left eye remained cerulean blue. The strange thing about this though is the icy shade of blue is the exact same as the right eye of the one who put him in a coma, Night Fox. She didn't know what this meant. But right now though, she didn't care. What she, and the Titans, didn't know though, was that the future was going to put their faith and friendship to the test. Jump City, Titan's Tower, Naruto's bedroom, Thursday. It had been a long day for the blonde hero, after being briefed on what had happened during his time in the coma, after having to put under tests from Cyborg to see if he was fully functioning to be active on the team once more, and after putting his plan into action regarding his choice of allegiance. He was about ready to hit the hay in his much comfier bed. The rest of the team had been surprised to see him sat up by the time they all reconvened again in the medical bay, and were surprised at the change of color in his right eye. Naruto did explain to them that he could still see, with Cyborg confirming this during his tests on him to deem him ready for service again. He even stated that he felt more clarity than he did before, and was more than ready to show them. While the team's leader, Robin, allowed Naruto to resume his place on the team, he did tell him to take it easy for a while, at the same time if his tone was anything to go by. The blonde could tell that the same theme ran through the other members of the team. He did note that the group took his coma-induced state badly for the most part, as the members did look a bit rough but had all seemed to try and grow from what had happened. The team had really tried to upgrade and change their attires and powers. Naruto was proud of the team, and thanked them for being there for him even though they've only known him for so long. Indeed, it had only been a few months since the team's creation on this island after the Gordanian invasion. The team wasn't letting Naruto go if they had anything to say about it. He was family to them. Family. Something he's always wanted. He wanted to cry because of their responses to him. It also further helped him to cement his allegiance. After several agonizingly long tests to deem him fit, and compliments to the team for their changes and seeing him as family, he got changed into his fixed gear and went out to the mayor's place, and left the slashed hidden leaf headband on the desk after burning Jiraiya's information about the Titans. While Naruto loved his godfather, he loved his family and the Titans more. From that point on, Naruto of the Leaf died, and a new book was being written. His life as Naruto of the Titans was in full swing now. He shook his head from his reminiscence of the last few hours with a smile. He finished writing in his diary about the events of his day before setting it down in his drawers and shut it, before getting under the covers with a light sigh. He was troubled regarding his fight against Night Fox. The two had linked minds momentarily, but in that second for outside viewers, and minutes for the joint space of their minds, Night Fox had revealed who he was to Naruto. It was so shocking for the blonde that he couldn't tell anyone, not even his closest friends and family. Naruto shook his head again, before shutting off the light and going to sleep. It wasn't the time to think this through. He wanted to dream happy dreams this night. Jump City, Titan's Tower, Naruto's bedroom, Friday. It was still early hours for those in Jump City, and within Naruto's chambers it was the same as the majority of bedrooms in the metropolitan area, filled with someone snoozing in a bed. Naruto was a silent sleeper. At one point in his life he was a loud snorer, but through training he was able to sort this out. He didn't want to wake himself up with his own loud snore. Naruto was also sleeping very deeply, meaning he was talking with his alternate selves. The slow opening of the door disturbed the otherwise still environment. Upon the complete opening of the door, Starfire's head popped through the threshold. She quickly scanned the room before stepping inside to reveal she was wearing her pajamas, which were pink and the typical PJ style of clothing with a long-sleeved buttoned shirt and pants. She crept up to the still sleeping Naruto. Although she quickly noticed his barely noticeable snoring, she climbed onto the bed next to him, remaining on top of the covers. She smiled at him, before stroking his cheek softly. The moment she touched his skin though, she went out like a light, unknowingly brought along to see the other Narutos. Space Between Universes, Friday. Nightmare, Naruto Namikaze, Vice Admiral Naruto, and Naruto Uzumaki were in a sitting position floating between the many universes and their infinite beauty and wonder. Naruto Namikaze, the one who stated that he had 15 animatronic girlfriends, had changed a bit since they last spoke. His right eye now contained the Tensegan, which is characterized by a light blue pupil, and irises, which contains a white, floral pattern. His outfit also changed slightly as the Konoha symbol wasn't on his outfit. It had been replaced with the whirlpool symbol of the hidden Eddy village. He also had a white circle on his right palm. Vice Admiral Naruto hadn't changed a bit. Naruto of the animatronics had been informing them about what had happened lately in his universe and world. He had betrayed Konoha and has taken everything to do with his clan and village out of the Land of Fire. He took a large number of shinobi with him on his way out of Konoha, and they now were rebuilding life in the Land of Whirlpools. Although they lacked manpower at the moment, they were gathering more and increasing in strength. He had even built some new animatronics to increase their numbers in the growing village. Vice Admiral Naruto was telling them a few stories during his trip to the Delphic Expanse, most noticeably about the incident at a mining penal colony, another with the Osarians, along with discovering a large 1,000-year-old sphere constructed out of a single alloy. He also explained about another event regarding a distress call from the lost Vulcan cruiser, Celia. Naruto of the Titans caught them up to speed with his adventures. One about the Puppet King who turned himself, Robin, Cyborg, and Beast Boy into puppets, and Starfire and Raven had to save them. He explained to them about Red X, who suddenly appeared to be working for Slade. Only to find out it was Robin, who used it to figuring out what he is up to by gaining microchips for Slade's newest plan. He also went on to tell them about Robin becoming Slade's apprentice before telling them about what happened between him and Night Fox. It seemed, according to Nightmare, that Night Fox was Naruto's nemesis in the Titan universe. Nightmare had told them that they could expect more Narutos to appear here, as he had been in contact with a few others, all of which were very different from each other. Heck, only one of them was loyal to Konoha. The other two didn't have anything to do with Konoha. One had been found by Kumo scouts and taken to their village to be raised among them before going on adventures across the galaxy through a stargate. The other had been teleported to a planet called Coruscant at a young age, and thus was never a ninja of Konoha. It would be interesting to see how those three would interact with the three already here. During the midst of the conversation between his guests, Nightmare frowned and looked to the side, seeing an unknown person who seemed to have joined in. "Excuse me, but did you, Naruto of the Titans, bring a guest with you? Did someone sleep with you?" Naruto Uzumaki raised a brow at him in surprise and puzzlement. He was perplexed at the question, but answered it nonetheless. No. I don't know how to bring others along, and I sure as hell didn't sleep in bed with anyone." "Why did you ask?" Nightmare, still looking to the side at their guest, replied to the honest and curious blonde. "Because someone touched you in your sleep, and since I haven't gotten full control over this ability yet, I accidentally brought one of your friends along with you to this place. Look behind you," he explained before he nodded in the direction he indicated the Titan member to look at. Upon turning around, Naruto was surprised to see who it was. Even more surprised since he didn't sleep with the person in question, meaning they snuck into his room to sleep alongside him. The person in question was Starfire. Coriandar looked at the four Narutos in front of her with an extremely confused face, before her eyes settled on the one she knew and loved. Naruto seemed to be confused about her appearing here, much like she was, wherever this place was. She looked at Nightmare, who looked like an older Naruto, before looking at the others once more with her lime and jade eyes. She took in the features of the other two Narutos before looking at her love. The one she knows. "Who are those three, and where are we?" Starfire asked as she looked around trying to figure out where she was. "Are these other personalities inside your mindscape?" She continued as she looked back to the four Narutos. "Yep." The day seemed to get longer for Naruto of the Titans. He sighed loudly before turning to address Starfire. "Now how does one explain to someone else, in this case their lover, that they are seeing alternate versions of themselves in the space between the many universes?" So this part ends here. Alright, that's it for today's video, guys. Let me know in the comment section how was the story. And also don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I will meet you in another video. Bye bye.